Sketches.
Good morning, Vietnam.
How are you, brother?
Good. What's going on? Rock steady.
Oh, not a great deal, man. Not a great deal. Just well, it's my Friday evening here, so I'm kind of just chilled, relaxed after a day, and you're just starting yours,
Yeah.
my man.
Yep. God woke us
So,
up, man.
sorry.
God woke me up
Oh yeah.
today,
So
so
yeah,
blessed.
yeah. It's a good day if you're awake. I tell you what. I about 7-8 weeks ago, I had a heart attack. I'm 40, and I had a heart attack, and that rocked my world, man. I just did not expect it. I'm not like morbidly obese or anything like that. I just going about my day. I probably had a pretty shitty diet for the last 12 months just due to work, and I've been busy and you get lazy a little bit, but nothing that would you'd expect at this age. And then bang, man! I was actually carrying a heart attack for 2 days before I went to hospital, and just what you said there, when God woke you up, it's I was waking up through the night just going, I'm still here, I'm still here. It was quite profound, really.
Wow. And
Yeah, man.
and your family didn't have nothing.
So this is where I learnt it. So I didn't realize I was a bit young. My grandmother died when she was 62 on my mum's side, my mum's mum, and I didn't know. I was probably 10 to 12, maybe she was 16 when I died. So in these younger years, in her late 50s, she used to apparently get angina attacks and had heart issues and high cholesterol, hereditary. So I found that out that I hereditary and more susceptible to high cholesterol in my family, but I had no news of that until that day. So that was kind of something that, you know,
Oh,
it rocked my world. Yeah, man, I tell you what, um, it's something that was it was a small chest pain right in the middle of your chest, something that us men just go, I'm a Viking, it's fine, and you push it off and you push it off. That was a Monday evening. I was having several heart attacks for a couple of days, and it wasn't until Wednesday late afternoon that I actually my brother rang me on the phone and he goes, "Man, you sound like shit." He said, I'm getting Dad to pick you up." So I was like, "All right, I can't fight this any longer." And I went to hospital, and they're like, "You've been having heart attacks." I'm like, "Shit." The only thing that really saved me, man, is that from the pain was increasingly getting bad more and more slowly over those couple of days, but I was taking aspirin instead of just paracetamol. I thought just in case it was a heart attack, I took it, but I didn't realize I was accidentally doubling down. So that kind of saved my life. Um, and so when they told me at the hospital, I was just like, whoa. Oh, I had a smile on my face first. I was with my dad. And then when the doctor left, the shock hit me. I broke down and cried. I was like, shit, I've got a wife and two young kids. I was like, man, uh, shit needs to change from here on. I was just, so that very night, just what you were saying then, I'd wake up in the middle of the night and literally just go, I'm still here, you know?
yeah, because yesterday I buried my best friend, so he
Yeah, I was looking at
was
your Instagram before,
he
man. I'm really
was
sorry to hear that, first of all.
yeah, he would have been 51. So and that's crazy. So
Well,
yeah, you got to count your blessings, man.
yeah, you do. And
So
your friend that just passed was only what the beginning of this week, right?
yeah, Sunday
um,
passed away
was it a
Sunday.
sudden thing?
He had it was a Sutton. Yeah, I
It
guess it
wasn't
was
sudden.
Sutton. I guess it
Okay.
was Sutton.
Yeah. And yeah, I just looked at your Instagram before a little bit. I grabbed one of the pictures to make a thing for this podcast, just to advertise it. And yeah, I caught one of the clips where you just said that you just buried your friend, and him being Muslim had to be buried within 3 days. Is that right? Three days.
Yes.
I didn't realize that. Yeah. So the time to process that, man, that's pretty quick, as you actually did mention. But I can't fathom having to bury someone so quick and mourn that process and then it be over. You know.
Mm. Yeah, you're not long to dabble in mourning. So you gotta once he goes in the ground, that's it. There's no more mourning.
Yeah. Yeah. That's tough. That's definitely tough. But yeah, I'm super sorry to hear that. And you said he was on stereo as well. Here.
Yeah, he was his name was Shy Speaks.
Okay.
He was always
Yeah,
like,
I do.
if you listen to my shows, like probably 75% of my shows, he's in all of them
Right,
in
right,
the
right.
audience or whatever. Always
Yeah, yeah,
giving me
yeah.
that great inspiration.
Sure. Terrible, man. It's terrible. Death is a terrible thing. They say death is a part of life, but
It is.
it still doesn't make it easy, man.
Yeah, especially when your mother there to bury your child. You don't want to bury your
Oh
child. You
man.
always want to bury.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine. It's my kids that keep me living every day. It's my kids that make me want to try. If I didn't have my kids around, I really don't feel I have any motivation to pursue anything. I think that would just be the greatest loss anyone can ever experience is losing their child. So to bury your
Yeah,
child, man. Do you have kids yourself?
yeah. I have a lot. I have
You have a lot of kids?
five. Yeah, five and a
Wow,
grandson.
nice one, awesome. Well, we're going to get into that today. We're going to sort of the purpose of this podcast is to kind of connect people and stereo behind the avatar. So things are a little clicky sometimes. Since they've opened this group thing up, and you see people hanging in their groups, and there's a little bit of separation between people that are verified and noobs that come on here. There seems to be that big gap sometimes. So I just want to
Yes.
ask the verified checkmark people in these interviews. It's called Conversations. We are the people, and show that everyone's a real person behind the avatar, just like what people joining stereo might be, and they can relate to some things so that they're not thinking they're a big scary star stamp. You know what I mean on the screen. So that was the purpose. We had a few good ones so far. We've done Mrs. Smitty, and we've done Taco Truck and Jose the Hype, and now yourself. So this would be awesome, man. And I actually don't know a great deal about you, so I was more excited to do this one because I'm totally going to learn from scratch about you. And you were thrown under the bus by my very, very good friend Joey Butts. He said you're a great guy, someone you've got to interview sketches. You've got to do it. I said, all right. So I reached out to you right away, and you were super responsive, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Joey Butts is a great guy, man. I think he's another one of my cheerleaders from back in the day when this
Right.
app first started, man. He was always there, man. It was inspirational.
He
Because
is, and
when we
he
first
he is a great
started,
guy.
when we first started, it was all about, you remember it was all about how many people you had in the room, how you keep the people in the room. And when the app started, it's only with two. So when Joey was in your room, you actually had a 3-panel room because he was always coming in giving different answers, you know?
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's a funny guy too, and he's got a hell of a fart on
Yeah,
him.
he's a good guy. Yeah.
So, man, I wanted to ask you. So, Joey's briefly told me about you. I'm like, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I want to ask him myself. So, I'm just going to ask a few things for you today, sort of from your life when you were young, in your childhood, and as you grew up, and what you did, things like that. If there's any part that you feel uncomfortable about or anything, by all means, you
No,
don't have
no,
to
no.
answer it.
I'm
You
an
don't have
open
to
book.
go
I'm
into it.
open book.
Yeah, yeah. It seems that everyone is at the moment, which is great. But if we touch on something that's sensitive or anything, I'm just saying, just wave the flag and I'll pass on by it. But other than that, we'll go through it. Try to keep to about an hour 20, so it's not too long-winded for people. And yeah, we crack on from there. So if all sounds good, I was going to say where you're located and where were you born and where were you raised?
I was born in Brooklyn, New York City, 1970, in
1970.
one of the worst project development built in the United States.
Right.
So I was already, I was born into a projects where the projects that they built, we New York was the last project development to have a federal funded development in the country. In the 40s and the 50s, they started building these projects for the soldiers to come home from Korea War because
Right.
they saw that there was a lot of poverty. So they built these things for the Korean War veterans. So that's why you ever heard, the project was for the Korean War veterans and the Jews. that came over from the Holocaust. So that's
Right,
what they
from World War
built the
Two.
projects for. A lot of people don't know
Mm-hmm.
that, but they built
No,
the
I don't know
projects
anything
for the
about it.
soldiers that came
Yeah,
home from the Korean War to have some place for them to live, and the Jews from the Holocaust.
right, right. And that's where you were born and raised.
Yes, I was born and raised in the projects in Brooklyn. You know, Jay-Z came from the projects. So a lot of people came from the projects. Chris Rock came from the projects. It's just so many people came from the projects that's very successful. Nas,
Well,
Nas
explain,
came from the projects. So many.
kind of give me an insight what it was like in the projects. Like, what was the neighborhood like? What was it? What were the streets like, and what were families like together there?
Well, the project development was it was called the project because the project was to keep everybody inside. Um, and then we had our own police department where it was the project police department where they kept us inside and they hammered us. So it's technically a jail mentality. So I felt like we felt like we were inside of a prison. And inside
Mm,
that prison, the cops were the wardens. So they would let us do anything. We couldn't walk in the grass. We couldn't walk our dogs. We couldn't ride our bikes. We couldn't hang out in the front in our own projects. We couldn't do anything. And they constantly hammered us and hammered us. And then you had a lot of murders. Because you have they threw drugs in our neighborhood, in our projects.
right.
So it was
Mm,
a lot of deaths, a lot of killings. Matter of fact, I've got shot and stabbed in them projects.
right. Damn.
And this is before I joined the military. So the project is terrible. A lot of homicides. And I think one year we were leading homicides in the country. We had the most homicides in the country.
Wow. Okay. So, so you went to school in the area of the projects as well?
Yes, I went to a school. I had to get on a bus. So, people from the projects, we got on a bus and we went to another school.
And what was school like there? Was it somewhere where you fit in easily, where all the kids meshing together against things like the
Oh,
police, or
nah,
was it?
see, because 1970, remember I said 1970. So I
Mm,
went to school in 1975.
yep.
So I went right into racism.
Right.
I was being called nigger every day for the first 2 years. My
Was
kindergarten
it a
years and my first
predominantly
grade. I was going.
was it predominantly a black or a white neighborhood
It
around,
was no,
or?
it was a white neighborhood. You know,
Mhm.
um, white neighborhood. I'm talking about when we got off the bus. It was nigga, nigga, nigga. They would throw rocks at us. You know, it was terrible. And you thought it was normal. So as a kid, I thought that was normal as a kid. They outside with the black people go home, nigga get out of here, and they had signs and they was protesting us from going into. What happened is in the United States, the school is judged by zones. So being at my projects was on the end of the zone, they had to incorporate us into that school system. So the white people was protesting about having us from the projects go to their school because we were black. So they didn't want us in a zone. So they were trying to change the zone. So they
Right.
would they would they would mob every day, try to get us to scare us from going to the school. And that was
So,
1976, 1975, and 1977. I had to deal with that.
and so you were picked on at school yourself, or as a group you were picked on,
Oh
or
no, no,
how
no.
was
That was just no. While I was in school,
that was just
I
normal?
had no yeah, I had no problem with the people that was in school, just the people that was out, the parents
Right.
and the other white people that didn't want us to come. But inside the school, it was pretty great.
Right. Okay. Okay. So the neighborhood was the enemy, really, not the school. Because I just had
Yes.
a couple of talks with a couple of other people. It was the school was kind of the enemy. There was bullies within the school, but yeah, a little bit different here. This is the streets. So, um, yeah, man. So that sounds like a rough upbringing on the streets. What were your family like? Were your mum and dad together and all that
Um,
stuff, or?
They were off and on, mostly off, mostly off. But I think being that I was from the projects, I already had like they feared me because I was from the projects. So once you're from the projects and you go anywhere in school into another neighborhood and they find out you from a certain projects, they go, this guy, we ain't gonna mess with him. So that's one thing I had as a kid through my whole youth. Once they find out that I'm from the projects, you're kind of left alone.
Sure.
You kind of left alone because you got like bragging rights, whatever. And my mother and father. My father was a correction officer, so he worked in the jail system.
Right.
And they used to
Okay.
argue all the time, and they got divorced.
Yeah. So how do you think that affected you as a kid as you were growing up? Like, what was your attitude towards the world?
I grew up. I kind of like think my father was there, but he wasn't there. He was, he existed, and he lived in the same
Mm-hmm.
city, but he wasn't really there. So I really my mother had to be my mother and my father.
And do you have
So
any
that was
siblings?
yeah. I have a brother and two sisters, and I lost a brother and sister.
As you were growing up?
Yeah, they died. They died as babies. They died as
All right.
babies. Have you ever heard of something called SIDS?
Yeah, sudden infant death syndrome. Yep.
Right. So now, prior to the SIDS came out, they didn't know what they had. So when my mother had her child and the child died in the crib, they called it crib death, and they actually
Yeah.
locked my mother up for a week, and they tried to say that she murdered her child
God damn.
because back then they didn't have a SIDS policy. They thought this couldn't happen. So this is before this sudden death, this infants and
Before
death
yeah.
thing, So they locked her up. They locked her up and they locked my father up with child neglect because he couldn't
It's
understand why the baby died.
so who took care of you as kids when your siblings died? Then would you have
Um,
other family to take care of you during that
yeah,
during that week's time,
my
or?
grandmother took care of us for like a week until they got out,
And did
and
you
they dropped the
understand? How old were you
charges.
when that was happening?
I
How
was
old
a
were you
baby.
when that happened? All right.
I was a
Okay. So
baby.
okay. Um, man. Okay. So that's a rough start. Did your mother work or anything, or she was just looking after your kids, right?
No, yeah, she was. Yeah,
Raising
she
your
was a
kids.
homemaker. Yeah, she was raising
Yep.
the
Yep.
kids.
Doing the hard job, right? I think I'd rather my wife do it than myself. It's hard work.
Yeah, it
Um,
is.
right. So school was a pretty good place to be then, really, compared to other places, being on the streets.
Yes, yes.
And as you're getting all this racism held at you as a kid and you're growing up, on the bus and things like that, where did you think your future was going to be at? Did you think ahead much at that time?
No, I didn't. I didn't think ahead at all. You don't. You don't when you born and raised in Brooklyn in the projects. You don't think about the future. You think about making it just through that year. That's
Hmm.
it. You think about the year and that's it. I never thought anything further. I ain't thought I was gonna be anything. I ain't think I was gonna survive. I ain't think I was gonna make it. Everything was like a. You ever see that movie with Jim Carrey when he realized that he's being followed and he's in this makeshift
Yeah.
world, and so
Yeah. Another one. Yep. Yep.
well, that movie. So it's like the furthest I thought about was a year. How can I make it through this year and graduate out of school and get promoted? That's all I cared about. I never thought about the future until I got into probably 11th grade. I just wanted
So,
to live and survive the year. That's all I cared about. That's how dangerous it was in my neighborhood.
um, so what was, if you could go look back now as an adult, you know, where your life is right now, and thinking about the mental state of you as a child, where was that at? Was there a high level of paranoia at all, or any depression that was setting in there, or anything like that?
It was, but we get cold and numb to it, you know. I got cold and numb to it. Like it was normal. It was normal for me to feel like that. Not only me, but everybody. Um, and there's a study going out that's saying that like a lot of us youth, we suffer from PTSD growing up in the projects. Cause somebody would get shot and stabbed and killed. And it was nothing else in the project. It was like, oh hey, it happens. It happened in front of me and everything. And I still like they'll shoot somebody and 15 minutes, 20 minutes later, I'm still playing basketball and football, whatever, and the dead body be still like laid in the grass. And we just continue doing what we have to do. Like, you know, it's you know, it was nothing to fear. It's just normal. And that's sad
So,
for somebody to get shot and stabbed and, you know, 10 minutes, 20 minutes later, we back outside playing basketball, you know.
well, how old were you when you first saw someone shot or stabbed in front of you?
I think it was 1970. 19 in the 70s. I think it was 75. I saw a cop shoot a little boy by mistake, kill him.
Oh, damn. And what was your reaction to that?
I didn't know as a kid, you know, my sister grabbed me, brought me upstairs, and I didn't know what it was. I was like, I don't know. I just saw blood. I saw a cop. He was shaking. He was nervous. And I was like, what's going on? And I was in the park, and then I hear pow, pow, and the guards, and you see the blood. And then I was in the, and my sister grabbed me. Said, I thought nothing of it, you know. Like, that was crazy. There was ketchup, you know. I think it was real. And that happened to me. I probably was in kindergarten, so that probably happened. Maybe 6.
So you're cutting out a little bit now, just the last 10 seconds or so.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
and then you don't think that people started talking about it as I got older, and I remember that. I remember that, but at the time it was nothing like
Yeah.
once
Your
you
audio is
like
just cutting in and out a little bit there, Sketches. I'm not sure if you can hear me. It's a bit frozen. A little bit, no, reconnecting. Just give me a minute. I've left the messages open at the moment for any listeners. If you do want to just ask the odd question, I usually have it closed, but this is pretty deep straight off the bat. So if any listeners do want to ask something, it's still crackly. Can you hear me okay? No. Might be swiping in and out the app. Just give that a second. Reconnecting. Okay, let's try. Can you hear me okay? Still a little crackly there. Try it. Not sure. I don't know.
Now,
I think it might be okay. Try it. Yeah, that's better. That's better now. Okay. I'm just going to play a message real quick while that maybe clears up. We've got a message from Joey Butts.
Hey, my brothers. Two of my favorite people ever. What's up, guys? I'm glad to see that Rocky got a hold of you, Sketches. You know, I told him I'm not taking full credit for it. I'm not some kind of hero. I mean, am I a hero? I don't know. I can't say really, but yeah, I just wanted to hook you up with him because Rock's my man, dude. And in Sketches, I told him, Sketches is that real deal. But I kind of feel you, man. I saw a kid get hit by a car that died when I was a kid. Jeff Hill, his name was. And I didn't know. I was like kindergarten, too. It was a big deal. It was like in the news and everything. You know, I saw the aftermath just right after it happened. I didn't really know what was going on, though.
Yeah, so it's a rough.
Wow.
Joe, you can take
You
full
mentioned that
credit.
because that's my second death.
Say that again, sorry?
That's my that I've seen. So like right after that, I saw one of my get hit by a car and die. I think it had to be like I was in either first or second grade.
Right.
My friend got hit by a car and died.
Oh man. You're slightly cracking up a little bit, but I did catch that there that time. But oh man, so this is from such a young age shaping you about the world. Like, world's a bad place. You've got to look after yourself and stay alive and all this stuff. When a kid should just really be able to go down and play basketball and not worry about this sort of stuff.
Yeah, you get numb to it. It becomes normal.
See, it's really hard for me to imagine what that would feel like, and just to try and envision it, I would automatically feel there's high levels of paranoia. But as you said, like that even becomes numb. It's just normality. So if it's a way of normality for you, what emotion could you feel like after that? You know, I mean, you're seeing some rough stuff, as bad as it gets from a kid. Of course you must have happy moments and angry moments and scared moments, or is it just all pretty numb?
It's at the time it's numbing the fact where it's become normal. It's not I didn't feel it was horrible. I felt it was normal. So that's the deal. You know, I thought that's everybody was doing. This is happening to everybody. Everybody was seeing people die, and everybody was going through this. I thought it was normal. You know, racism was normal, so I thought it was something that we all go through. You don't think nothing about. In the 70s, you thought nothing of it. It was normal for people to hate us. So that was nothing. 70s and the early 80s, it was normal. That was normal for us to be hated. So I thought everybody was hated all over the world. I thought they didn't like black people all over the world. So that was natural. So, that part was natural. No, I thought that was normal. They even teach you that in school. There was a movie called Roots. Have you ever heard of the movie Roots?
No, I haven't, no.
Roots is a slave movie about slavery, how slavery happened in the United States. And that movie came out like 77, 78. And we had to watch that movie over and over and over again. And it's a terrible movie about slavery. So it's sad. So like I said, I thought it was normal. It was normal for us to feel this way, And this was 77, 77. So moving further, being that my mother was so going through so much, in the summertime, she was sending us away to different places on.
Sorry, Sketches, you're cutting out a little bit. You're still cutting out a little bit. Do you have any apps running in the background maybe that's buffering your phone possibly? It sounds like it could be that. If you have anything open in the background of your phone, it's just struggling to get through sometimes, clearly.
Let me see if I can, if do I have an upgrade?
An update
update.
could possibly be too, yeah. Yep.
Let me see. Right. Let me take this off. Let me try something here. How about now?
I think that might be right. Try that again.
So I took my just using straight Wi-Fi. I have 5G. So sometimes my phone jumps from 5G to 4 to I don't know.
No. Still,
But
it's
how
still
about now? Can
struggling
you
a
hear
bit
me
there.
now?
I could hear you say, "Can you hear me?" But before that was struggling a little bit. Um,
How about now?
I think it might be okay. We can keep going ahead there. I think it could be okay. Yeah. Okay. So a question I had was, you're saying it was just normal. When did you realize that it wasn't normal? You know, when did you realize that seeing this, living in this, was not a normal way of life?
When I didn't realize this was normal until I started going through therapy like about 5 years ago.
Oh, really? Holy shit. Okay, so it's like
Yes.
this was a normal way
There
of
was no
life, and
PTSD. Back then there was no PTSD. There was no such thing of PTSD. And when it came out, it was all about war. Only soldiers can get it. So you don't realize that, you had that. I had that as a kid.
man. Oh, so where did it change for you? So life's going on. You're trying to live year to year, trying to get through each year. Where did the horizon start to expand for you? Were in your teenage years? I know you mentioned something about 11th grade before. Was there a pivotal moment there where things changed for you?
Well, at the in the 70s, like I said, my mother would send us away. So she sent me
Sorry, say that again.
away
It
to
skipped that. Your mum sent you away?
yeah, actually every so often she sent us away to get, a peace of mind for herself. And one
Mm-hmm.
one summer, it's just like 70, 78. She sent me away to the Bronx with my cousins. And I was only there for like probably 2 weeks out of the summer, 78.
Mm-hmm.
So when I go
Mm-hmm.
over there, I'm seeing, even though it's another projects, but I'm seeing a different way of life. Even though I'm going into another projects, but it was a different way of life. We were in the park. They were playing music. People was dancing. People was together. Um, there was this guy out here. They was playing like music on a record player, and then were dancing and carrying on, and the crowd was large. So my cousin he was the guy that was playing the records, and then my other cousin would like go on a microphone and say, "Everybody come to the front," and people was dancing. So I loved that for those 2 weeks. So I was like, "Mommy, I want to go back." She was like, "Nah, I don't want you going back over there. Um, maybe next year." So I'm like, "Oh man, I love going there so much." So she said, "Okay, you can go down there for Christmas break." So I'll go down there for the Christmas break again, and now this time they had like a party inside an apartment building. So I'm there hanging out and they're playing music, on the record. And my cousin is, on a microphone. I'm like, wow, this is great. I want to do this. So I started like writing down exactly what my cousin was saying on the microphone in 1978. So I was trying to, I was like, this is great. Whatever he's doing, this is cool. I want to be like this. So the next year came around, 1979. My mother let me go back for spring break. So I'm back in the Bronx, early 1979.
As a 9-year-old
So
kid.
now, yeah, I was a kid. I was like 9 years old. So
Mm-hmm.
now I'm back in the project. They always doing music again. So this time, if the thing that I wrote down last year, I had it on a piece of paper, and now we back another party at nighttime. They're playing the record on a mix thing, and I had this paper in my hand. So my cousin says, "Yo, you wanna say what you say on your paper?" I says, "Yeah." She says, "Come on, I'm gonna tell my brother he let you get on a microphone." So I get the paper, I fold it, I look at it again because I remember it, and I fold the paper, put it in my pocket. And I have something to say. They bring me up, and I started like rapping. But it wasn't called, it was called MCing. So I was MCing on the mic in front of a crowd, probably about 100 people in 1979. And that's when I knew. 1979, there was more than life than just what I was dealing with and seeing. And that was the birth of hip hop.
Wow.
that
That's
was the founders of hip hop. DJ Cool
sorry, I
Herc,
missed that.
African
Bit of a
Bambaataa,
connection.
Curtis Blow. These are the new founders that I was hanging out with, not knowing back in 1978 and 79. I was watching hip hop develop in my eyes, and I'm developing with it, and not even knowing. I was an MC. I was MCing. This is before they came out with the term rapping. It was MCing. So I was a master of ceremony. So that's what MC stand for, the master of ceremonies. So my job was to give the DJ a break. So I would go on the stage and I was, rap, not rap, but I would MC and control the mic and say things about like, hey, look at this girl over here with those nice shirts. And that would give the DJ enough time to pull out his records, to switch him up, to go to the bathroom. Maybe he wanted to play a record and dance. So that's what the master of ceremonies did. So that's what I was. I was a master of ceremonies back in 1979. And that's when I knew there was something else out there.
And this is for the short break of you being there on holidays. Then you had to get whisked back home for the period of time in between. So what was happening then? Like you're going back home, and then your whole drive was this your motivation then to start really getting into this for your future?
Yes, that was my drive. Ever since then I saw something else. That's what it was. I saw something else. Because that's what the project was all about. The project was to keep you in the projects.
So what did you do to achieve that and get out of the projects and follow that dream?
Doing music, and I became an engineer, and I started doing shows with being an MC. So I joined a rap group, and we started doing, I started being MC. I started writing and rapping and like really getting involved and going to shows and leaving.
We're skipping forward a little there because you're missing out probably from the age of 9 up until that was a young adult, I imagine, or late teens. Kind of what happened in those next 8 or 9 years at school? Was it something where you started to get your own record player, practicing at home? Like who did you start to follow, or how did you learn about it? Like I sort of want to know that process. What did you do to get
Well,
there?
like I said, I developed with hip hop. So in 1980, you had the number one song in the country, in the world, was the Sugar Hill Gang. That dropped in 79. And then in 80s, when it really got popular, 1980, you had like 3 songs that was like number 1 on the charts. So I felt like wow, there's hope. So that hip hop gave me hope. So, I started dancing. So I started off dancing and MCing for a couple of years. And then I started buying my own DJ equipment and my own music in my own studio. And within 6 years, I became an MC. I was an MC, a rapper, a dancer, and an engineer. So I started learning how to mix records and to go into a studio and lay down tracks.
So how old were you then, and what year was this? In the mid-80s?
That was 84.
84. And
my first
this was your
day in high
full-time
school.
thing then? Sorry?
Yeah, I was in high school at the time. I just got into high school, and
Okay.
That was 94.
Right. So walk me through the process. Like what was, you're in the industry now, this is your gig, right? You're getting some sort of income from this when you left high school. What was the process then? Because I imagine something like this. So I imagine like someone who wants to be an actor, or even, for example, doing podcasts, you want to be a famous or good podcaster, and you're nothing but passionate about it, and it's not easy to get into, right? You have to know the right people, you have to build your contacts, you have to keep putting yourself out there, and there's some failures and successes. Like, what was that for you? Like, what did you have to go through to reach your success?
The process was I
Sorry, you're cutting out really bad.
I don't know, this is weird. I never had a problem with this app. That's weird. I never had a problem.
Yeah, it's good for a bit, then it crackles out. But I think it might be okay right now. Try again.
Yeah, so hip hop was the thing that saved my life. And I have love. So I was able to get love from other people. Because the only person that was loving me was just my mother and my grandmother. So getting love from the streets, you know, that's the village that raised me. The love for the streets through hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
That's why to this day.
Go ahead.
That's why to this day I take hip hop a different way than everybody else, because it kind of saved my life.
Yeah, it's a pretty good story behind that, to be honest. Like, it's pretty damn cool. It's always wonderful to listen to a story how someone finds that passion, you know, and you've got actual pinpoint moments where that happens. So that's really awesome to hear. Just to skip back a little bit, your dad, he was working a lot. He was working as a prison guard. You seem pretty cold when you talk about it, more like he was just a man that was there. What was the process with your dad? He was he not a very affectionate father, or what's your feelings towards your father?
He was cool. You know, he's still alive today. I can call him and we can catch up, and there's no hard feelings. It's just that he could have did better. He could have been in my life. A lot of people said that we as kids should reach out to our fathers and force them in a way to like be a father. Maybe, you know, he thinks that we don't love him, or, you know, I don't know. Maybe he has a mental illness that we don't know about. But like I said, I could talk to him tomorrow and he act like he was there my whole life. Like he would actually, yeah, I remember doing this for you. And I was like, what is this guy talking about?
Right.
So it's like, I don't know what he thought he did, but he did raise me. But in his mind, he did. I'm like, you didn't raise me, you know, you wasn't even there. How'd you say you raised me? I know what he did. He did help me out. Went to the Blue Moon. Like, yo, I think when I got my first apartment, he bought the furniture, and he also gave me my first car. So he was there for a kind of some pivotal moments. He was there for some pivotal moments, and I think to him that's all he had to do.
So, what was your grandfather like? Your dad's dad?
I didn't meet none of them.
You didn't meet any of your grandparents?
No, none of my grandfathers.
Okay. Did he ever talk about his father to you?
He said that he was a hot dog vendor.
And that was about it?
He owned like 4 hot dog carts. So he was like an entrepreneur at the time.
Right. Yeah, I just wonder sometimes when you look back into some people's family history, you know, and I just wonder if his dad was like that with him, you know, and sometimes some parents have a hard way of knowing how to do certain things if they didn't have it themselves a little bit, you know, and then you get those kids that have maybe not experienced something, or experienced something that they shouldn't have, or they wish that they didn't, and they turn around, they change their whole life because of it. Others will adopt it and do the same thing to their kids. So I sort of like you know, delving back a little bit and having a listen to that. But okay, so so you've left school, and what did you start doing, like work-wise, besides this? Was there any other gigs, or?
Well, I think like after when I got into the hip hop and I became who I was, and engineered and rapped and being in the dance and going on shows and performing, I performed the Apollo, and this is the 80s. So now it's time for me to graduate high school, and this is where it gets hard, you know, when you Now you have no structure. Now you on your own. So in '88, when I graduated high school, I didn't know what to do. You know, rap was doing something different. But now there's no school. It's home. You know, no one's telling me to get up and go to school. No one's telling me to do this, do homework, and go to bed at this certain time. And just like backed off. You know, you're out of high school now, and there was no jobs. So there was no jobs in '88. So I'm just home every day, just home. You know, in projects like. So that was a whole big welcoming to trouble.
Right.
You know, crack was out. So it was either I sell drugs, or if I want to make it, I gotta either sell drugs, get a job. There was no jobs, or to go back to hip hop. So I remember when a lot of mine was selling crack, and I would go with them to help them back up, but I didn't go out in the street and sell it. I would
Sorry, Sketches, it's really cutting out again, man. What I might try and do is, I might try and what if I can do that? I might try and move you to listeners and then call you back up again. See if that just kind of fixes it a little bit, because it's cutting out pretty bad. Is that okay?
hold on.
Yeah. It's just it'll be talking fine, then it just goes terrible. In the meantime, I'll pop a couple of bubbles. I actually think stereo is glitching right now, because I see listeners in here, but then when I check who listeners are, it says nobody. I'll pop a couple of bubbles here. Here we go.
Sketches, man, you are really breaking up a little bit, man. I'm interested in hearing. I hear what you're saying mostly. I hear what you're saying. So get up on the mic. You might need to change the place you're at, so we can hear you just right. Oh, and this is Curtis Blow, and I'm here to let you know it.
Yes.
How about now? I changed my position. How about now?
It cut out a couple of times there, but it sounded better still. So I'll hit the other bubble from Joey here, and then we'll try and get into it again there.
Sketches was rapping when I was 1 year old. 1984. Wow. And you know what? And that's one thing that I appreciate. You know, is before my time. But the culture. He was deep into the actual culture of hip hop, which is, I consider myself to be. I feel like there was a contribution, from just being a fan of it to promoting it in a sense, like, and actually, and at one point, and doing it, and like making music and stuff, and I had such an appreciation for it, and I appreciated the origins of it, and like, this is interesting, man. I never heard you talk about like this, Sketches.
Thanks, Joey.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
I think that sounds great now. I think it might have solved the problem.
All right. So you wasn't even born yet, because he wasn't even born yet. I song in 1978.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So I don't think he was born yet.
Yeah. I think he was born 83. Yeah. So. All right, so because I really don't know your past history or anything, and I'm only just hearing now that you're sort of getting to the hip hop world, and assuming that you've kind of really made it down that track in the hip hop world. So I'm just hearing this all for the first time, which is the whole point of this conversation. So you're now delving into the hip hop world in the mid '80s, leaving school, and you said that there was, just to recap a little bit because it was cutting out, you were didn't have to go to school anymore, and you were just at home. There was no jobs. It was either sell crack on the streets, don't work, or get into hip hop. That's where you were at, right?
Right.
Right. And I'm assuming you took the hip hop road.
Well, it's 88, like it was nothing to do. So like I said, I was helping bag crack, but I wasn't going out on the street selling it. So when I was bagging crack, my friend would give me like 50, 60, $80, some $100 to help them to bag it. And I would take that money and I would save it because, you know, I wanted to buy what you call a 4-track recorder and a beatbox machine. So I would, you know, I would, I think bottles. I don't know if you, well, I used to collect bottles, and I would take the 5 cents from the bottles, and I would collect money, and so I saved for about a year and a half, and about 1990, I bought me I had a studio, a full music studio in my apartment by 1990. I'm talking. They called me the Dr. Dre of the projects.
Right. So you built this in your apartment, did you say?
Yes.
Right. And okay, so this is you've got your den to do to work on your craft.
Yeah. No, so I was an engineer. I was like, there was only 1 or 2 engineers in my whole project, so everybody was always at my house and would charge like 15 an hour
Sorry,
on my
man, it's cutting out.
music.
Terrible again. Oh man, I don't know what's going on this time. I actually think stereo's a bit glitchy because yeah, I can see listeners now, but before I couldn't for a while, so I'm not sure what's going on or if it's internet from your side or try that again maybe.
How about now?
Try again.
Still good? Still good?
Nah, it's not very good. No, dropping out. I'm thinking we might have to revisit this podcast. It's too good. I don't want to miss out any information, and it's really difficult. It's chopping it up.
Yeah, it's definitely doing something weird.
Yeah. What I'm thinking, man, is you got such a great story. I don't want to lose any of it just because it's been crackling up for a while. Do you think we should revisit this again and really go through it properly? Because I just don't want to lose any information from the whole thing breaking up.
Yeah, we can do it again because that was like was it 20 years? The first 20 years?
Sorry, I didn't.
So we still got 30 more years. We still got.
Oh man,
I mean,
I'm happy to.
only the
I'm happy to.
20 years.
I'm happy to go into it more. I like because we're in the moment now. It's not the same if we restart, but at the same time, I don't want to lose the story. So maybe we can still continue, and if you don't mind me just stopping you if it's crackly again, or are you in a bad location, or it hasn't really happened like this before? You said, has it?
Yes, I normally have great my. Then again, I did change, but
I'm just wondering
I
did
always
you
had
check if
great.
any apps are running in the background of your phone? If you've got an iPhone, you know how you can swipe all the background apps off, so it's not taking such a heavy load. Same thing with an Android, but it just sounds like it's buffering, like it will work and then it's buffering again.
But I have I got full bars and full everything, so I don't and I don't have nothing in the background.
Right, that's strange. Yeah, okay. I mean, let's just try to keep going because I mean, I'm kind of in the moment here, you know. Yeah, I want to hear how you reach your success, and I believe you also joined the military at some point here too. Sorry.
You took the message.
Nah, I'm not even catching what you're saying there.
That you took the messages off, so no one could leave. I think that's probably why.
Oh no, I did it. I normally do, but I've opened it now to the public, right, kind of right near the beginning, so anyone can chime in. I can ask them if they can hear. Can a listener just drop in and tell us if you can hear a clear connection with Sketches or not, if it's just my side or what? Because it's really a shame to not be able to delve into this properly. I'm getting into the story, so someone can just chime in and let us know.
Because I can always try to move to another location again. Can you hear me now?
I can, but it was still a little crackly, but I could still hear you.
Yeah, let me try to move location.
Maybe if here we go's a message. Let's see what they got to say. Here we go.
Yeah, no, this is a phenomenal story. The connection keeps popping and breaking up, and oh man, like this, I wanna hear all of it. I do. Oh, this is I'm loving hearing your story, Sketches. The connection is choppy and it's tough, but like I want to hear your story, man. This is
We got another message. It's probably Joey.
Appreciate it.
I can hear you fully, Rock. Yeah, Sketches is just breaking up every time, and I'm bumming a little bit. Please continue this again. I would, please do, because I'm interested in this very much. Sketches of how you came to be where you're at, and I know you've kind of gotten into it a little bit before, but not quite. I think it's good for everybody. So, I love you both, man.
Thanks, Joey.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
I think so. Yeah, it seems to be okay. We could try, and then I'll let you know if it breaks up again. I'd rather keep going here today for sure.
So in the 80s, I forgot. So in the path of going into hip hop, this is 85. I'm going to night school, and I'm in night school in a high school in Brooklyn called George Westinghouse. So now in the 80s was a crazy time. Like I said, I was always into music. So I would go places and I would rap and MC and dance. And in my paths, different things like the place called the Mall. I would always hang out at the Mall downtown Brooklyn, and this is where I used to rap and dance. With the graffiti, hip hop.
Kind of losing you again there.
Still losing me?
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, man. Damn. It's such a good fucking story, man. I just and it's like I start to get into it, and then it crackles out. I'm like, no, I don't want to be rude and stop you when you're talking. And you know what? Can I suggest you restart your phone? If you switch it off and on, I can wait here for a second, and so long as you're back in a couple of minutes, you'll still be on. So maybe try that. Restart the phone.
I done sat outside, so I'm on my. Can you hear me now?
Still cutting in and out a bit. It's tough not being able to hear it clearly, of course, and you'll be feeling my pain too.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you right now, yes.
So I'm going to use my data instead of my Wi-Fi. So I'm outside now. Like,
yeah, good idea. That might sort it out.
All right. So, and like I said, I was in hip hop. I would hang out in like places that had influential, or a place where we have ciphers at. So in the 80s, I'm bouncing around, man. I'm MCing and I'm in this place called Albee Square Mall in the mid 80s, and I'm rapping. Well, go back to my going to night school. I'm in the bathroom, and a bunch of other people was rapping, so I started rapping, blah blah blah, rapping. I thought nothing of it. Next year go by, I'm going to the mall, I'm rapping against other people. You think nothing of it. And then started like this 70, 87, 88. Come to figure out that I rap with Big Daddy Kane, I rapped
Oh,
with
wow.
Jay-Z, I rapped with Biz Markie D, I rapped with MC Shan, I rapped with so many rappers that I rapped with in ciphers, and they didn't know it until later on. So they got popular.
Yeah.
So I
Oh, man.
rapped with Rakim, I rapped with Big L, I rapped with who else I rap with? A guy named Jazzo, the guy who kind of made Jay-Z.
Right.
I rap with Roxanne Shante when she came with Biz Markie to the mall. I didn't know these people. I didn't know until later on in life that I'm like, oh, remember that time you was? I'm like, oh, that's right. You know that was Roxanne Shante, right? So, you know it. You don't even know where you at because hip hop was, like I said, it was just starting. So I
Sure.
continue that.
Around all
I
these
continue
uprising
that.
stars, right? That's pretty
Yeah,
damn
right. And, you
cool, eh?
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
I can actually say that I rap with Jay-Z, you know, in the bathroom.
Yep. Yep.
So I became the engineer of the projects. So this is before Dr. Dre was really out. 1990, I was the man. I was an engineer. I was doing stuff unheard of. I had like this weird sound. Man. Everybody wanted it. So I was
So people
I
are
was
coming
charging
to
$15.
you.
Yeah, people was coming to me. So I was paying $15, charging $15 an hour. I was making a pretty penny, but then my mother was like, I don't want these people in my house. So she was like, you got to take this somewhere else. So I'm like, where I'm going to take this? What are you talking about? Take this somewhere else, you know? And she like stopped me from having people come in my house.
And you were how old then?
I was 19, 20.
Okay. So yeah, obviously, what did you have to contemplate to continue with that? Did you think about moving out, or you just stopped?
What I did is I just made beats, right? And I put it on tapes. And I was like, you like this beat? Here's the tape. Practice. So when somebody practiced, they was able to rap to the tape, and it was where I was at. I would wait till my mother leave the house, or she go somewhere, and then I would like hurry up and do a session, or I would like take maybe the recorder and the mic, and I would go like taping like somebody else's house, but it was hard. So and during that time, I got I had my first child. Well, I got a girl pregnant. So this is all 1990. So it was like a rough year. My mother said I can't do music in the house, and I got a girl pregnant at the same time. So 1990 was a little rough for me. That was a
Right.
rough patch.
Yeah. You're gonna be a dad, and you've got all these big choices to make. You're about to walk out as an adult to the big bad world, and now you've got all this responsibility on your plate.
Yes. And I got to tell my mother I got somebody pregnant.
And what was her reaction?
And it was rough. Like I said, I'm still in the projects. I'm losing friends. It was terrible. So that was
When
my
you
way
say
out.
losing friends, you mean like they're getting killed?
Yeah, people constantly getting killed in the projects. Yeah, you know, crack was at its all-time high in the projects. Technically, crack started in the projects, in my projects almost. Like we were one of the founding projects of crack in New York City.
Wow.
So when it was introduced to New York City, we were like one of the first projects to ever get this drug.
So you've got a baby on the way, and your mum's telling you can't do business at home. What do you do?
I pack all my stuff in a box, and I worry about my child that's coming. So I had to put everything to a hold. And for 1 year, I was going back and forth and battling and trying to find a job and had, because now I have to leave my dream, put my dream and put it into a box and become a dad or get ready to become a dad. So now when we finally tell her parents that she's pregnant, they kick her out. So they kicked out the apartment, and now my baby mother have to go and live with her grandmother. So now I wasn't able to see my child's mother. We got separated.
So
that
she
kind of
was
stayed in
a partner of yours at the time then?
Yes.
Yep. So she's gone somewhere else, which is, I take it, not in the projects then?
No, she's not projects.
So she's the distance was quite far for you to visit her and stuff. So she's now going through the pregnancy without you being around because you couldn't see each other.
Right.
And there's no mobile phones back then. Contact's not as easy as it used to be like now.
No.
You know, yeah. So that's kind of tough. How far away was she?
She was, it was still, we was still in the same city.
Yeah.
Still in the same city. But
So
they said what happened is they said that they didn't want me around her. They want, so they were trying to separate us.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
they were trying.
Yeah. I mean, I don't understand that because if you both try and take responsibility and be together and raise your kid, then kicking out of home and separating is not really the answer, I don't think. But nonetheless, it's lumped on you. You've got no choice right now. So what do you do next?
So she wound up decided that she didn't want to be part of the family because they did that to her. So she goes into the shelter. So she goes into the shelter and she leaves her grandmother and pregnant. So now I'm home and my baby, I'm about to have a baby in the shelter because I had no place to have the baby. So now I gotta do something. So I have to make a decision. So that's when they really get critical. And this is 1990. So I decide to go. Yeah, I decide to go back to the crack aspect. And I'm like, you know what? I got to get back into, I need money. So
Got to earn. Yeah.
I go and I dab into the drug game. Yeah, just enough to save enough money to get I bought like a crib. I bought like cases of Pampers. I bought like a stroller. So I bought all these things, man. All these things with crack money, And it just got scary, man. It got scary, and I saw more people dying, and I bailed out. So I think I was only in the crack game for probably a year. Once my child came.
That was building and building too, right? Because when you get in the game, you get more known, more business comes, more heat comes with that, and it's like you're trying to do what you can because you've got a baby on the way. Yet the pressure's probably building, and then just then you said you did it for about a year, so it sounds like you made a snap decision to bounce from that life.
Yeah, it was. I lost one of my friends, and I was like, yeah, this is I got to bail out of this. So once they saw that I was providing with the crib and I was providing, they let me back into her life again. And a year later, I was able to join her again, and being a provider, they kind of like open arms to me and let me be part of her life. So
yeah, which you rightfully should have been, right? So that's peaceful to know. And so where did you and your partner at the time live from there when you had your baby?
Well, when she had a baby, then I was like, I have to find me an apartment, or I have to find something or some type of stability. And I decided to get my own apartment. I said I got to get my own apartment so I can have a place for my child. So that was my goal, was to get my own apartment. But once again, I didn't have a job. I got my studio equipment still in a box. I'm trying to raise my baby. I don't know what the hell's going on. I'm a young father. I don't have my father. My mother was like, you know, she was happy, but at the same time, she was like, you know, you're too young. So I had to make a decision. So I was like, how can I find a way to make some money? So this is like, you know, 92, 93 is going on, and I'm just, you know, struggling. You know, it's a bad time. So I'm in front of the building, and one of my friends from another part of the projects come through, and I'm like, hey, wait, what's up? Where you going? I said, I'm going to Harlem. What you going to Harlem for? He says, I'm a comedian. You know, this is where I go and I'm going to comedian school. What the fuck, ain't no something as comedian school. What are you talking about? She says, yeah, a bunch of us, we go not right next to the Apollo, and we critique each other. A bunch of comedians. So I'm like, that's dumb. So he's like, can I go with you? She says, yeah. So this is 93. So I go with him in 93. We go up, get on the train, and he's telling me, yeah, he says, yeah, I do. I make about $80 a week, $150 a week, sometime doing stand-up. He said, this is why I go and brush up. So I was like, okay, we on the train, we get there. I go, this is the next to the Apollo, 125th Street. I'm going in, and I'm sitting there. It had to be about 50 people in there. Comedians. Everybody would go on stage, and they would critique each people's jokes, and I'm up there. And as I'm up there, there's a guy that gets on stage with a hat with a propeller on it. And he was corny. I'm like, you know, I started, hey, it's garbage, it's corny, you know. So they was like, well, you think you good, you go up there. So I get on stage and I say a joke and I get on there for about 5-10 minutes, and I'm just ranking, talk about people's mom, and I got a couple of giggles. So, you know, I get down. He was like, that was pretty good, man. You should try it. So I'm like, yeah, you know, whatever. So go home that day. I write a few jokes. So next week I go back out up there with my friend again and try to perform in the stand-up. So this time I was up there for 15 minutes. And then I was getting a lot of laughs, and, you know, it was cool. So I started going up every week. So I started getting really good. So my friend's like, yo, I got a couple of gigs you can go to, man. They're only going to pay you $50. I'm like, $50? Are you kidding me? He said, you got to do 2 shows for $50. So I'm like, hell yeah. I started doing shows. I started getting good. 93, 94 came, and I was getting $100, $150, $200 a show sometimes. So that's how I got into the comedy business. Because I was forced to come up with something because I needed some money.
That's a blessing.
So
now
the guy that I was talking about was Tracy Morgan. I was clowning Tracy Morgan. You see how the way the world works and the paths? I was clowning Tracy Morgan about being corny. I'm like, this is corny, this ain't funny. And look at Tracy Morgan today.
Yeah.
And you know who else was at that comedy? Chris Rock.
Oh, right.
Yes, Chris Rock was there. He was always funny because he had this weird pace that he would pace back and forth, and this weird voice. I remember seeing him. We were doing the critiques in 94 or something like that, and this is prior to doing his movie. So I kind of knew he was going to be big. So now this is 93, 94. So I started doing gigs. And every week I was trying to do 1 or 2 gigs, make it 50. Now back then that was a lot of money. It was enough to buy milk, Pampers, you know, enough to, and I would give my mother $25, you know, it was enough to stay afloat.
Yep.
So 94, 95 comes, and I go and I get a gig, and the guy said, I like you a lot. I want you to host this because another guy's about to leave, and he's about to shoot a movie. And when he goes, I want to know, can you host and cover it until he comes back? So I'm like, cool. I went to the Comedy Cellar, which is in Manhattan. So I go, I say, just come in so you can see how my hosts do it. And then you could just, get your little feel for it and you become the host. This is because I like the way so I go to the show and I sit there and I watch the host do his thing. And I'm like, this fucking guy is fucking hilarious. This is like 94. This guy, I'm like, how the fuck I'm going to fucking mimic this shit? And why they pick me out of all people? So I'm listening, this guy is fucking funny. So the show goes over. I talk to guy at the end, like, yo, you fucking hilarious. He says, yeah. He says, I'm great, but he says, yeah, I'm about to do a movie. He says, yeah, I'm about to shoot a movie, so I'm gonna be gone for probably 3 months. He says, but he says you and another person gonna be hosting. So yeah, man, congratulations, man. Just do it, man. Just fucking go out there and just fucking do what the fuck you want. Don't give a fuck. It says, make sure, just when you go on stage, just feel like everybody ain't got no pants on. Don't worry about it. Just do you, bro. So I'm like, that was cool. So that guy was Dave Chappelle.
Wow. Damn.
So that guy was Dave
big
Chappelle.
shoes to fill, man. Yeah.
That guy was Dave Chappelle. So Dave Chappelle was the host in the Comedy Cellar back in '94. I didn't. Wow. He was just Dave. He was Dave Chappelle. He was not that big back then. He was just a funny guy, But at the time, he was living with 2 other people, so he wasn't rich at all. He was hanging out with 2 other comedians, and they lived in a 3-bedroom apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy that he was living with was the guy that helped him write his show, Dave Chappelle Show.
Yep. So let me just stop you there real quick and just say, what's life like for you now with your mentality from as a kid and where all the normality that you're saying with the shootings and people are dying around you, friends and stuff, and now you're in like comedy clubs, laughing it up, hosting shows there. I mean, how are you feeling? Like, how's the future looking from that point?
Because now I have an outlet. So all of these vitamins and minerals that I've been taking all my life comes out in my comedy. So in 1995, 94, that's when it exploded. I'm doing weddings. I'm doing all types of events. I'm performing at the Apollo. This is where comedy is starting to take off.
And this is your complete source of income now, right? And it's enough to float and a little more then?
Yes.
Good. Yeah.
But like me being away and me being hot-headed and thought I was just shit, I then separate from my baby mother.
You didn't, did you say?
No, I separated from my baby's mother.
Oh, you separated. Okay. Yep. Okay.
Yeah. I guess the clash of me being away and thought I was too big. And she was small. I left her. We separated. So now it's 1996. And I was still doing shows, but when Dave Chappelle came back, I lost my gig. And then when I lost my gig in 95, it was like, I don't know, I couldn't find work for some reason. Like my comedy everybody was gone. Chris Rock is gone. Tracy, everybody is gone. So it was a whole different way of doing comedy. And I felt like I was back to square one again. It was like I was fighting for my life. The music, I done stop being an engineer. And I was just lost. I was just lost at that particular moment. And then I lost another friend. So I lost another friend. He died in front of me in the projects. And it was like, I can't do this no more. And this is all you suffer. I'm suffering through PTSD and don't even know it because it's not even out yet. So I see my friend take his last breath in front of my building, right in front of me. So I'm like, I got to get out of here. I got to get out of here. This is not the move. So I joined the military. The end of 95, I joined the military. I couldn't do it no more.
5 years old. Yep.
Yeah, it's 26. 26.
So that
So I joined
that's
the
a good.
military in October when I was 25, and I went to boot camp that January, which I was in 1996. I was in a boot camp.
Before we're going to go into that one, we've got 3 messages I want to knock out, and then I want to go right into your military life here. So just hold up for a second, and we'll go to Oscar G.
I had to go through the same thing, sketches. Yeah, same thing, man. You know, I didn't go back to college until I was 30. So, you know, shit happens. You gotta fucking be responsible. You gotta do what you gotta do. Anyways, what's up, Rocstedi? What's up, sketches?
Hey, brother. How you doing, man?
Oscar T, what's going on, man?
We've got Malika.
Good evening, Rocstedi. At least I think it's evening over there, sir. Hope you're well. Miss you. Love you. Hello there, sketches. Hope you're well. What are we talking about? We are the people. I am the people. Yes, that's me. Hope y'all are well.
I am the.
Thanks, Malika. Yeah, we're talking about the life of sketches. Yeah.
What's going
we've
on,
got 2.
girl?
I love her voice, by the way. Okay, we've got Joey Butts.
Hey, Sketches, was that movie he was about to shoot? Robin Hood Men in Tights, Mel Brooks movie?
That's what it was.
This is great.
There you go.
That's what it was. He was shooting men in tights.
All right, we've got one more from MC Funk.
Yeah, just to let you know, the sound is great now. It's not choppy anymore. It's good and reliable. So, yeah, this is a great story, man. Like, I'm on the edge of my seat. Like, I got to hear more.
You're great. You're great telling stories, man. So yeah, and now the connection's perfect. So it was the Wi-Fi before.
Yeah,
so.
I'm outside sitting next to my pool, so I'm just watching the water.
Good. I'm glad we got through that because I was feeling like we were missing bits and pieces. And I'm like, oh damn, no, you know, I want to hear it, but
I'm watching the fucking leaves fucking terrorize my pool right now, and fucking leaves.
So you're 25, 26. You joined the military. You joined the military for reasons of stability now because you're feeling that you're kind of back to square one with your comedy after everyone's left. Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle and all that have moved on. And
I felt everybody left me. My baby mother, my child's life like I want to be. I have no father. I lost my friend. It's like I was out there by myself again. So that's when I joined the military.
And was the military maybe? I was guessing maybe it was something for stability for income, but was it also some sort of like you were looking for some camaraderie as well? Like some sort of
I had to get out. I had to get away. I had to leave the projects. It was like if I'm staying in this projects, I'm gonna either get killed, something's bad's gonna happen. I'm gonna make bad. I had to leave, you know, and I had to make a decision. So I joined the military.
And what was it like from that point forth in the military? What was that? Because I was in the military myself when I was 21, and I was really ready for it mentally. I signed that dotted line, ready to, learn how to go into battle, and it still had the rude shock when I got there. It fucking blew the pants off me, man. As ready as I was, you still were not quite ready when you get to the military, I think.
Well, now a lot of stuff I left out. So in my 90s, I got shot and stabbed. You know, I left that part out. Yeah, I got stabbed breaking up a fight between two girls. They were fighting, and I got stabbed with a butcher knife, like right in my arm. And the knife just like stuck in my arm, and like, what the fuck? And everybody just looking at me like even the two girls that was fighting was like, oh snap. And I got rushed to the hospital. Like, yeah, one of the girls.
That was
girls that was
stab
fighting
each other, and they got you, or
yeah, it got me good. I still got a nice little scar on my arm. So I get to the hospital, and they were like, "Yo, they missed a certain nerve that could have killed my arm." So I'm like, God damn. So that was like, what's that? The early 90s. That was like the early 90s. And then I got shot. I got shot like like a year later, the year after that. That was like 92.
Shit.
So these things happen, and like I said, then I saw my comedy friend, and he like it was like God was always one step ahead of me. They always made me do a decision that kept me from getting in trouble, dead, or whatever.
But we want to sort of hear how you got shot and what happened there too. Don't skip over that.
Oh,
So like,
but yeah,
what happened there?
yeah. So in 93, I'm sitting in front of my building in the projects, and you know, I'm out there with the gangsters, and I'm talking about notorious gangsters, like these names like ring bell today. And I'm sitting in the front and we're playing this game. It's a game called Skelly. It's a game we play. And I'm shooting these little things on the floor. They're little tops. We waxing them. And then I hear, now, motherfucker, you about to die. And I actually heard the shotgun. Wow. Wow. And the guy like aimed the shotgun towards me. And I like jumped, and he shot the guy next to me. Wow. I see blood everywhere.
But he was aiming for you?
No, he's aiming by me. I guess he was trying to shoot the guy, but I thought he was trying to shoot me. I'm like, what the fuck did I do?
Yeah, sure.
He was shooting the guy next to me, but I was sitting next to him. So I don't know if he knew that I was with him. So I'm hearing it. Wow. So he shoots the guy next to me, and I see blood splat against the bench. So I'm running. So we separate. I hear wow. And I look back, and the guy runs into the building, and the guy that my friend that got shot runs in the grass and faints, and I'm running down the block. So once I heard the shotgun blast stop, I stopped. I ran down to the end of the projects, and lo and behold, I look down, and my leg is bleeding. I'm like, what the fuck? I got shot. So what happened is the shotgun rounds bounced off the bench and hit me in the leg. So I'm bleeding to my leg. I was so afraid to go back to the project. I walked up like 4 blocks away, and I called the cops and say that something happened to my leg, and they took me to the hospital. The detectives came, and I'm like, no, I don't know what happened. I was just walking and blah, blah. And I lied to them. So when I got home later that day, I found out that the guy with the shotgun was coming back to shoot and kill the guy that was next to me, because he, the night before, robbed him of his motorcycle and his jewelry and his money. So he knew where the guy lived at, and he went, and he was going to kill him. So I happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time.
I just want to say, holy shit, that's fucking insane. Like, I come from a place in Australia where like guns are banned, man, and just hearing that you're on the streets and people shooting at you and running for your life, and you're not an actual like war and a government war in another country. This is on your streets in your neighborhood. It's really hard for me to fathom that stuff from Australia. You know, of course I can imagine it, but just the fear and the way of life is just, you could never let your guard down on the streets, man, ever, right? You always have to be on your toes.
Yeah, so I got like 12. I think I got like 12 stitches. And did it stop me? I was back out there the next day playing the same fucking game.
Shit.
I didn't even tell nobody I got shot, because I didn't want nobody to know that I was, because what happened is they wound up killing the guy that did that. So I didn't want to get part of that whole, I didn't tell nobody. And no one even knew I got shot. I didn't went up the block, and so that's like I say, one of those things that I know I had to do something. That was like one of the things that helped me join the military. All these factors. So I joined in 96. And I'm in boot camp in 96. I'm 25 years old. So I was considered old. They were calling me old man because I was, 25.
Yep. And what was the military life for you? Was it a big shock, or was it still a place where you're pretty happy to be? And you regret
Hell no.
joining at the start?
I was like, what the fuck did I do? What the hell did I do? What the hell
Same
did
with
I
me.
do? My first day. So my first day in boot camp, like I didn't know because you back then you don't know what to expect. So I knew it was crazy. My thing was like, I'm out of the projects. I had nothing. No one. I didn't listen to anyone. I was myself. I didn't listen to anyone. Now I got to go to a place where I got to listen to all these people. So I'm in boot camp. Everybody's yelling in my face. They yelling in my face, telling you, get up and do down, get up, do push-ups, shut the fuck up. You ain't, and I wasn't used to it. So my third day, I was there for 3 days, and one of the drill sergeants come up to me and he pokes me. Hey, Private, what you doing? Get your butt downstairs. You got I took his hand and I bent his finger back and threw him to the ground. My drill sergeant.
Fucking is all I've got to say. If you're in the
Oh
fucking
my
military,
fucking!
holy
I
shit.
snapped. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
God damn.
So he gets up, he grabs me. Now we fucking on the ground, like fucking wrestling like two little kids. They blow the whistles. They pull me apart. You get court martial. You going to jail. You ain't gonna never. And I'm furious. They throw me in a fucking room. Sit down. You sit down. They cut the light off. I'm in the fucking room with the light off. I'm sitting in the chair, and the all I can see is like the window. And I see a bunch of like soldiers looking in and shaking their head. And I had my like, I'm fucking going to jail. This is fucked up. I'm doomed. I'm fucking doomed, bro. They left me in the room for about 2 or 3 hours. So 3 hours later, they come in and they cut the light on. And I stand into position and I fucking salute him. It's my captain. He goes, no, sit down. Sit down, soldier. Sit down, private. So he goes, you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm all right. He says, you know what? Come to my office. So I get up and I go into his office. He says, close the door behind you. So I'm like, I'm fucking going to jail. This is it. He goes, sit down. So yeah, he sit down. He says, I want you to take this. So he slides me this paper and a pen. He says, I want you to read this. And I look down and I grab the paper and it says, I drill sergeant, broad shoulders, apologize for getting in your space and point blah blah. So the drill sergeant was actually apologizing to me, saying that he was wrong, that he was going through a divorce, and he brung it to work. And I was like, "Do you accept my apologies?" And I was like, "What?" And I had to sign at the bottom. So I'm like, "Oh no,
Shit.
fucking way!"
He's
Here I am
apologizing to
thinking
you.
right. And here I'm thinking I'm about to get fucking kicked out the military. I got to go back home, and my life was over. And I was like, I couldn't believe it. So he's like, yeah. He says, if you don't sign this, then we have to get rid of him, and he would have to leave the military. So I was like, what? So I was like, oh man. So I signed it. Signed it. Like, yeah, it's all right. And the captain says, so I'm not forcing you to do anything. Like, no. So he wound up still being my drill sergeant. He was kind of cool, wound up being a great friend. And he didn't let off because he couldn't let him know that he was playing favoritism, but behind closed door, it was favoritism. Sure. So he would yell at me on purpose, and then behind closed door, we would laugh it off and shit like that.
Yeah.
And then he made me like the platoon sergeant afterward, the platoon guide, and it was crazy. It was, life like was just throwing me bones, and it made me become a better soldier, and he trained me. So he kind of like put me on his wing, and I wound up being a staff sergeant, a platoon sergeant in the military, and leading my troopers to battle where I deployed like 3 times overseas in war. I'm decorated. I have pretty much awarded pretty much everything. I have a full rack. I have so I'm like a decorated war hero.
And where did
With
you
13
serve
years in the
overseas?
military. I've been to Kuwait, Bosnia, and Iraq.
So my sergeant served over in Bosnia as well, I think. and yeah,
I'm
some of the
sorry,
stories he was
Kosovo,
telling.
and also Kosovo, Bosnia, and Kuwait.
Yeah, right. Some of the stories he was telling me were me back when I was in the army were rough, and you could tell he was affected by this. You know, he was a really successful soldier, and he'd talk and he'd do things kind of numb, just like what you were probably talking about before. He just looked numb because he'd seen some stuff. So a couple of things I want to go into there. So how was your whole military experience overall? Obviously, that's a huge life-changing thing because it's taking you out of the project and putting into some sort of like structured daily routine as well, teaching you discipline, teaching you camaraderie, all that sort of stuff. And then I wanted to go into, if you want to talk about it, about where you served overseas, what you saw in battle and things like that. So feel free to talk about whatever you wish out of that or not, you know.
Oh yeah. So boot camp break you down and then bring you back up.
Correct.
So now everything that I learned in the way of life was broken down in boot camp and rebuilt. So I was reborn again in boot camp.
The way
now,
I like to put it
I'm
is
no longer funny.
They break your character down and they build you up into their number.
Down.
Yeah.
Right. I'm no longer funny. I probably didn't tell a joke probably for years. Like I didn't do comedy. I didn't do no stand-up anywhere for like 4 years straight. No comedy. Mm-hmm. I became a serious person, a war machine. I killed 8 people in my life. I jumped out of airplanes. I rappelled. I went to war. Mm-hmm. I became real serious. Had another child. So I had my second child. And I had a child in 97 while I was deployed.
Oh, right.
So when I was deployed, they sent me away and I was having my wife was pregnant and I was so pissed off at the war that I didn't care if I lived or died because I was just so pissed off. I'm like, you know what? And no one cares, all they care about is. So I would go to war. I would like go on missions and like volunteer to go on missions because I didn't care about my life. I'm like, fuck it, who cares? No one cares, so I'm not gonna care either. I was just volunteering on going on convoys. Don't care. I'm like, I don't care. So I was walking on eggshells. Didn't care. So I think I brought PTSD to the military.
I was just about to ask what didn't you care about your life if you had your wife and daughter back at home?
I don't know, man. Like I said, you suffer. You don't even know you're suffering. It's like you don't even know you're going through something until after it's over. And then I look back at it. Like who volunteers to go on missions to when you could possibly get hit in the convoy? And I was volunteering.
Absolutely. Especially if you got a kid at home, right? You think that you'd almost be ducking away from those missions just to survive whatever you can to get the fuck back home to see a kid, right? But right. You're feeling numbness, PTSD, and just going like, fucking send me out there.
And I wasn't the only one. There's other people that do this all the time.
Sure. But by volunteering to go out there, do you think that they gave you some sort of a sense of feeling if you were feeling so numb from PTSD? Did it give you the excitement a little bit that you could feel something and that's what you were striving for a little bit or not?
Well, I didn't want no downtime. I didn't want to think about it. I always wanted to be something. I wanted to be active, so I would have to sit down and contemplate and write a letter and think about it. I always wanted to be doing something involved, so I would have to feel the me being away. So I go on a convoy. I know for this whole day I'm doing something with somebody else, a camaraderie, I guess. Mm-hmm. So long I have camaraderie, I still have love from somebody else. So I think I needed the love from somebody else at all times because, I was suffering. There was no phones at the time. Everything was all about writing letters. I would have to actually wait for a letter to come in to get some kind of attachment to your loved ones at home.
Mm-hmm. How long were you away serving at that period of time?
8 months, 9 months.
And your daughter was born. Was it your second kid was a daughter? Sorry, or a son?
My second daughter, yeah.
Second daughter. So, she was born while you were away. So you hadn't met her yet. You got back and she was already several months old.
Oh well, I was stationed in Germany, so she was living in Germany. She was living in Germany, and we were in Germany, and I was away in Bosnia, and she was home. You know, raising the baby without me when I was away.
And
But she was living with me in Germany. So I lived in Germany for 4 years.
And
that's why.
Sorry?
I lived in Germany for 4 years, from 96 to 2000. That's where I was stationed at, and my wife came with me.
So I was,
so
when you were away serving, what sort of do you have any stories that were extremely memorable while you were deployed and trying to distract yourself from home?
Yes. So 97, was it 90? 96, we go on a mission. We in Bosnia, and we're doing missions. So we're moving forward. We're fighting the Serbs at the time. So my unit decides to move faster than what the brigade wanted us to do. So we had this brigade general who was just fucking crazy as shit. So he was trying to move forward faster than what we were supposed to move. So he moved too fast and wind up getting a couple of our soldiers captured. So 3 of our soldiers got captured in my unit, and to go to grab our soldiers, we were sending like helicopters to try to retrieve them, and they were shooting like missiles over our head, like hitting them, just barely missing us, because they was trying to attack the Serbs. We got too close. So lo and behold, those are the same soldiers that made the news. So I don't know if you remember back in 96 where the Serbs had captured 3 soldiers and Jesse Jackson had to go and grab them. So they wouldn't release the soldiers. Only time they released the soldiers is if Jesse Jackson came over there. So if you look at the history of the 3 soldiers that captured in Bosnia in 96, that was my unit. Right. And I got a medal for that and everything. And I just got a medal for that because I didn't even know we got a medal for it. So I was reading that they gave a heroic medal for it because they shot around, like they shot a missile like right over my head. Like it went over our brigade and hit the enemy where it was too close. So they gave us a medal for that and be able to not get injured, which is kind of weird. And it was a traumatic because when they capture one of your own, it's like, wow, this is like and I knew the soldiers, so they captured it. So I thought they was dead. I'm like, we ain't gonna never see them again. They're gonna torture them, just like you see in the movies. And Jesse Jackson was able to get the soldiers, and which was pretty cool. I think at the time, Carter was the president at the time, if I'm not mistaken. Was it Carter or was it Reagan? I forgot who was the president at the time, and that was 96. I think it was 96 or 97. So that was a big deal for me.
Yeah, it sounds like a huge deal. I didn't know much about that story because I'm obviously not from America, and I didn't know much about it. But yeah, man, that sounds.
Well, you ask your friend about when he deployed to Bosnia. Do he remember the 3 soldiers that got captured? And he'll probably be like, "Yeah, I remember telling you that. That was my unit." So they captured 3 of my soldiers.
Right. Yeah, I think there's a whole like good podcast to unpack on the military experience just alone. I think there's going to be a hell of a lot of stories that you could tell on that one. I'd love to go into that. So
I deployed again in 99. That was Kosovo. That was Kosovo. And that in Kosovo, first I was slated to go to Iraq. I suited up for Iraq. I go to Iraq for 2 weeks. They pulled me out of Iraq. Not Iraq, Kuwait. I'm sorry, Kuwait. They pulled me out of Kuwait and says there's a new mission in Kosovo. They're killing people. So I'm like, Kosovo? What the fuck is that? What is this? So our unit goes over there and we're like, what are we here for? And lo and behold, they grab us and they take us to this grave site. And it had to be about 200 bodies, 200 kids, babies, little girls, little boys, on top of each other, just buried. It had to be about 200 kids dead. And that's when that's what I know. I'm like, you know what? I felt better about myself. It's like now I joined the military and I felt like this whole thing was worth something. Once I saw what this country has did to these people, everything made sense. Everything made sense in 99. I'm like, wow, this country killed all these people. So that was like the package that made me feel really good about myself in 99.
Because you're there making a difference. You're there trying to help. Mm-hmm. Man, that's pretty deep to hear that. You know, that's
and at the same time, my wife had cheated on me in 99 when I was away. So when I came back and I found out I'm dealing with that, I had to send my wife back to the United States. So once again, I'm going back into the shit. So I'm in the shit and I'm still in the shit. So I decided to get out of the military. So soon when I get grasped and feel something a sign away, something else come in and says, you know what? Fuck your life. So the next year in 2000, I got out. Just like that. Yeah. Back to being alone.
Take you next?
back to being alone again.
Mm. And staying where? Back in the project or?
Well, when I sent my wife home and she said, let's go to counseling, marriage counseling, and see if we could do it again. When I sent her home, I sent her to Compton because that's where we met in the military. So I sent her to Compton. So now when I get out the military, where the fuck do I gotta go? I go to Compton. So now I'm from the projects out of New York City in the military, did all this stuff, killed people. And now here I am going from East Coast to the West Coast and I'm moving into Compton. Unfucking believable. So now I'm living in Compton. I got this going through marriage counseling, trying to figure it out. I got no money. I got my daughter that doesn't know me. I'm missing my family, and now I'm trying to figure out my life. And I'm suffering from PTSD. Don't even know it because it wasn't out yet. And this is 2000. This is the year 2000. I still got my studio, like my studio equipment I took with me is still in a box. So I got this dream, all of this stuff, and I still got my daughter, my first daughter that I wasn't in her life at all. So I got all of this pounding on my brain in 2000. So I tried it. I get a job. Her father has power in the county where we lived at in Compton. So he's like, hey, I tell you what, I know somebody who knows somebody, and if you move to this area, as long as you have an address, I can put you in and put you in for an application. He put me in, I took the application, I put in to be a sheriff in a different county not too far from Compton, about an hour and a half away. So I move. So I leave Compton and I move to Southern California, a place called Ventura County. So I moved to that county, get a little 1-bedroom apartment. and I put my application in. So he makes a few phone calls. They pull my application. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. I go on an interview to become a sheriff. So I'm like, I'm sitting down there with 3 people. They asked me, you want to become a sheriff? I'm like, yeah. So it's like, we are right now, we have a promotional where we are taking soldiers that did 4 years active duty, and we're taking them straight out of, you can use that instead of having the credits of college. So he was like, so I went into the police academy and became a sheriff in 2000, like 4 months after I got out of the military.
Wow.
Here I am in the academy to become a sheriff. Out of everything in my life, I become a sheriff in 2000. So I'm in the training.
For you?
Yeah, it's surprising for me. I'm coming from bagging, crack and from rapping into doing all of this into now I'm in the academy being a sheriff. Yeah. Right. So in California, you have to work inside the prison system for 1 year before you become a sheriff. So every day, you work, I'm in the academy, and then you go into the jail, and that's where they train you to become a sheriff. So you working with the inmates, and you're doing mock drills, and you're training, and you're studying and taking tests. Once again, I still got my marriage I'm trying to figure out. And we just get farther and farther and farther apart. She was in the military too. So it wasn't getting better. It wasn't getting better.
And here's you're actually doing the same job that your father was doing at this time then. He was,
right, exactly.
He was working in the prison, and you're doing the same thing, which is
right, doing the same
surprise,
thing.
Yeah.
And I'm in there with the inmates, and I'm having more fun with the inmates than I'm doing with the other correction officers, the other sheriffs. There was only 2 black sheriffs. It was me and someone else. That was it. So I remember I was driving, because I was working 4 o'clock in the morning. I was driving to work one day, and I drive with my uniform on. So I drive into work one day as a sheriff in my car with full uniform on. And I'm driving, and I didn't come to a full stop at a stop sign. It was 4 o'clock in the morning. I didn't come to a full stop. I kind of drift through it. I get pulled over by a regular police officer. See, I'm a sheriff. The sheriff, we govern a larger area, and the sheriff is outside. So we cover cities. So I'm going in through a city, which another police officer, the city police officer, pulls me over. White officer pulls me over. I'm in full fucking uniform. He pulls me over, shines a light in my face, and asks me where I'm going. So I'm like, excuse me? He says, where you going at this time of hour? I says, I'm going to work. He says, going to work where? So I'm like, what do you, sir? I don't understand what are you getting? He says, I don't know where you work. How would I know where you work at? So I'm like, sir, I'm like, officer, I'm in fucking uniform. He says, first off, stop cursing at me. So I was like, what are you doing here? He says, can I have your license and registration? So I'm like, license and registration? He says, why you want my license and registration? He says, because you ran the stop sign. I said, I ran the stop. I says, are you kidding me here? He says, license and registration. So I paused, and I gave him my license and registration. He snatches my license and registration and go back to the car. I'm in fucking full uniform. I got my gun and my holster on the seat next to me. He goes back and he goes back in the car, and I'm sitting there for 20 minutes. So I'm scared. I'm like, what the I'm a sheriff in training, in uniform. And I'm sitting there for 20 minutes in the car, like, what is he doing? So I call my wife's father. I'm like, yo, I'm sitting in the car, and I get pulled over by a city cop, and I'm in full uniform. He goes, don't worry about it. Just get the guy's name, and we'll work it out. So I couldn't believe it. So the cop comes back, and he says, I run your plate, and you are who you say you are. And next time, come to a full stop. So I'm like, okay. I get the ID. I get in my car and I drive slowly to work. So I get to work and I speak to my captain. And I says, sir, can I talk to you for a second? He goes, what? He says, I was racial profiled. I was pulled over by a white cop, and he didn't care if I was a sheriff or not. And he sent me there for 20 minutes, and he was really mean to me. He was like, are you kidding me? He says, tell me this didn't happen. I says, it did happen. It happened to me. Yes, it happened to me. He says, so he calls, like he goes in rage. He calls the captain of that unit, and he pulls the guy in the office, and the guy was a racist cop. And it's like, this is not the first time this happened. And when that happened to me, I lost interest of being a sheriff. I didn't want to do it anymore. I just didn't want to do it anymore. And with me not really cool with my wife, I made the decision to put my 2 weeks notice in. I'm going back to New York City. I'm going back to my mother, my family. I can't take this anymore. And at the time I was making $60,000 in 2000. The year 2000, I was making $60,000 a year, and I walked away from that.
That's damn good money for back then.
Yes. My checks, I was getting like back then $2,000 every 2 weeks after taxes. Back then. 20 years ago, I was getting $2,000 every paycheck after taxes. Back then, 20 years ago. You can live off that now.
Absolutely. And so you decided to go back and see your mum and go back to your original hometown.
Yes, I had to pack up, and it was I drove from California to New York City with all my possessions in my car. Everything I owned all my life for 30 years was in a car. My whole life was in the back seat, in the trunk, in the back seat of my car. So can you imagine everything that you did in life fit in the back seat of your car in your trunk?
Yeah, man, I can. I had to leave Australia to live over in Thailand because my wife's Thai, and I had to pack my whole life into 3 suitcases. And on the way back too, because we relocated back to Australia. So it's kind of that, I know that whole feeling. It's kind of humbling, and I don't know the words, to pack it all into 3 suitcases and go, damn, that's my whole life there. That's the important shit, and take it with you. Yeah, I totally get what you mean. Your life fits into the backseat of a car.
And I can only grab what I can grab. You know, I probably had about 7,000 records that I had to leave back, because I was an engineer, so I had records. I was a DJ. So I had about 7,000 records. I had studio equipment. I had stuff that I couldn't take. So I get to New York City. No place to stay. All I had was, probably I think I had about $5,000 in the bank at the time. I gave my wife, before I left, $5,000, and says, hey, I get on my feet, maybe the separation to work out and blah, blah, blah. And I move in with my sister. My sister takes me in. She gave me the basement apartment. And the basement inside her house. And she took me in, And this was 2001. So I was a sheriff. And right before I graduated, a year of becoming a sheriff. And now you're supposed to, for 3 months, you go out on your own as your sheriff. And after 3 months, you come back and then you become a real sheriff. I didn't make it because I gave my 2 weeks notice. They were like, how do you give your 2 weeks notice after you graduate? So you right there to become a sheriff. I'm like, I don't care. I can't stay here no more. This is not for me. I don't want to do this. I just don't want to do this. So I left all that behind. So I left my kid, a good job, my wife, and I left all that behind just to go home to New York City.
And what was your plan?
Like I said, it was all PTSD. I had no plans. No plans at all. I just, emotionally, I was fucked up. PTSD at his best.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted my mama.
Peaking.
I wanted my mama. That's what it was. Long story short, I wanted my mother. I missed my mother. I wanted my mother. I needed my mother.
So how was the reunion and like what sort of happened from there? You know, you got to spend more time with your mother and obviously living with your sister, but you're back in the project.
Yeah, because it was, my mother had downsized. She went to another they downsized it to a 1-bedroom. We were living in a 3-bedroom as kids, but they downsized it to a 1-bedroom. And I didn't want to take that 1-bedroom, and I didn't want to, live in some, in some living room. And then, so I moved with my sister, and then, once you being in some place for a certain period of time, it just don't feel right. So that was 2001. So now, you know what happens in 2001 in New York City, right?
Yes, the Twin Towers.
Right. So August is when I left California. September 11 happens.
Wow.
What happens? In September 11, I decided to feel patriotic again. I wanted to help. I don't know. The 9/11 kind of messed me up. The PTSD came by. I needed the camaraderie. I joined the military once again. Not only that, not only that I joined the military, I joined the reserve. Not only that, I also put an application in to New York Police Department, NYPD. I wanted to help. I wanted to get back. I want to be a hero. I joined the NYPD. I'm in the police academy.
Okay.
I'm in the police academy in 2002. July. Because I wanted to get back. And at the same time, I was in the reserves doing both. I wanted to be back. I wanted to, at the same time, make my mother proud, and at the same time be heroic for my country and my city and my state, blah, blah, blah. That's PTSD. So now I am in the police academy and in the military in 2002. Unbelievable. So now, how do a guy living in the projects, in one of the worst projects ever built, to become a cop? I done been in the crack game. I've been hanging around notorious gangsters. I've been through things, and now I'm about to be a police officer. It's crazy. It was unheard of to be a cop in my projects. Unheard of. I probably was the first one. I probably was the first patrol police officer in my projects. Unheard of. So it was so crazy that I was actually going to police academy back and forth in the projects, and no one knew because they didn't know what the uniform looked like. I was in uniform. I was in the academy uniform, and they didn't even know what I was because they never saw it. So I'm going back and forth in 2002, going back and forth to the academy, and they didn't even know. They didn't like, yo, they didn't know. They didn't know what the fuck I was doing. So I wind up being a police officer. And then I had another baby at the same time. So I had a baby in 2002 while I was in the academy. So it's always, every time something dramatic happened, I had a baby, which is kind of weird.
There's a pattern there for sure.
There's a pattern. There is definitely a pattern. So I had my third daughter. I had my third daughter in 2002 and in the academy. And once again, I had to make a decision. So I get my own apartment. Of course, you know, I got a job, got my own apartment, got my own baby. And life was sweet. You know, I was a police officer. I went to a unit where my job was to consist of riding the train. So I was a transit police officer. So I got lucky. I didn't have to go on patrol. I would want to patrol on the train. So I would ride the trains and patrol the train system in New York City, it was a cool gig because, you know, I would just ride the trains. And I did that for a numerous of years. And being that I was, you know, so cool, I didn't lock no one up. So I was one of those cops that would let everybody get off. Like, if you didn't kill nobody or murder nobody, I let you go. Like, I didn't write tickets. I didn't lock no one up. I kind of like kept the peace. I was respected. Everybody loved me. They say, hey, you know, I didn't pay for nothing when I went to the stores. People was always, you know, I was the police officer that everybody loved. And once the precinct knew that, they started trying to make me arrest people. They try to, you know, you're not doing your job. You're going out there. You're not here to help people. You're here to arrest people. You're not here to make the community like you. You're here to, and this is the reason why the police officers was doing the things they were doing, because they was training us this way. They was training us to be stereotypical. They was training us to be judgmental. They was training us to be racist. They was training us to just lock up black and brown people. We were trained that way in the academy, not only in New York City, across the nation. When I was in the sheriff's department, we would have dummies with black faces on it. We had targets that had black people on it. I mean, everything was all black and drug dealers and savages. And it was always, the whole United States Police Department was geared about locking black and brown people up. And I saw this thing happen, and I did the reverse. So when I stopped somebody, I would coach them and tell them, hey, brother, you know, don't do this, don't do that, you know, don't smoke, don't give nobody ammunition to take away your life. And don't do it. So I was like the father out in the street. And as the years go by, when the NYPD wanted me and wanted us to lock people up, stop, question, and frisk, and do things, and I didn't do it, that got me in trouble, because they didn't want that type of person. So they said, being that I'm not locking nobody up, we're going to ship your ass out. And we're going to put you in a place where you have to lock somebody up. So they put me in the worst predicament that you could possibly put a police officer. You know what they did? What they thought they did is punish me and put me right back into the projects. So they kicked me out of the train system, and they put me in the projects. So now I'm a project police officer because they tried to punish me. Little did they fucking knew that I was born and raised in the projects for 25 years.
So they had no idea that you were from there.
No
They thought they were going to teach you a
idea.
lesson.
Yes, I'm going to teach
Right.
this motherfucker a lesson. We're going to punish him. I went in the project and did the same thing. Loved. I was loved. I was going to barbecues. People was cooking for me. I was playing with the kids. I was in people's house drinking coffee, watching television. They was constantly still trying to break me.
Because they knew that you were there to help, not to hinder. Like the police system wanted you to fuck them over. They wanted you to arrest them. They wanted you to enforce that law in this unfair way, right? But you're like, the way that you're helping by being a police officer is by relating to the people. You know, you're speaking to the people. You can talk them out of things. It's not always about arresting people. It's not the best therapy, right? It's about making them see the light. And I'm sure you were there in your neighborhood, understanding how to speak to them, understanding what that neighborhood's like, and man, making a difference.
Man, I'm dealing with we call them emotionally disturbed people. So I was called I was called the emotional disturbed person whistle. I mean, how can you say that? I was how do you they called me the whisperer. So I was called the mental health whisperer.
Right.
I would they would call me when somebody wanted to commit suicide, when somebody was locked himself in a room, when somebody wanted to jump off the roof. I was called to the scene. So I had the ability to calm somebody under the worst predicament.
Or connect with them heart to heart, right?
Yeah, it was
make
like I had this special talent. Well, I coach at least five or six people off the roof. I done went into people's houses. You know, I would close the door and the cops be outside. I would walk in. Guy would have a knife to his neck. I had a guy, he had a gun to his head, and I would go in and I would coach him out of it. I would sit down and one time I went to one job and I get in, this guy had a knife to his throat, and I'm like, yo, bro. He said, I don't want no cops around me. I said, you know what? I said, what if I take my shield off and I take my badge off, I take my gun and I take my thing off and I leave it outside. Can I come inside and talk to you? And my fucking sergeant said, get the fuck, you ain't doing that. I says, yo, bro, listen, I don't want him to die. I says, just hold my stuff. So the sergeant says, I'm not doing that. So I says, not a problem. I started undressing. I took my jacket off. I took my gun holster off, and I carried it to my partner. And I went inside the door and I locked myself in. I'm inside in the fucking my sergeant's bank. What the fuck you doing? I say, hey, bro, you see what I just did? I risked my job for you. I risked my job for you because I know you. Because I knew the kid. I knew the kid from for a couple of years. I knew it. I'm like, yo, put the knife down, man. I says, yo, it's me and you, bro. And if you put the knife down, you're not going to get arrested. I'm going to take you to the hospital. I'm going to stay with you. I'm going to stay with you. You're not going to get I'm going to stay with you through the whole hospital. Just put the knife down. I'm sitting down right next to you, and we're going to talk about this. The door's locked. I'm not even going to let the cops in. I don't like the cops either. I just did this job because it's, you know, I'm talking shit. And he puts the knife down. It was a blade. He folds the knife down. He says, officer, I really want to slit my throat. And if you wouldn't have did what you just did, I would have slit my throat. He says, but I don't want you to lose your job. He gave me the knife, right? I put the knife in my pocket. They banging on the fucking door, bro. I'm like, I'm okay. They're calling the unit. I'm like, the helicopters are coming. I hear the fucking helicopters hovering over the projects. Bro, they was talking about like rappelling from the helicopter, breaking in the window. They was trying to, I'm like, yo, I told them, says, I'm okay. So they was like, if you don't open the door, we're going to break this door down. So I told the guy, I says, hey, here's what's going to happen. I says, I'm going to take you by your arm. I'm going to put you behind me because I don't want these idiots coming in and bothering you. So I'm going to grab onto you. You're going to turn around. I'm going to interlock your hand and I'm going to bring you out because these assholes are stupid and I don't trust them. Do you trust me? He says, yes. I says, you know, he had a shirt on. Says, put your shirt on. You know, I'm fucking scared. Don't act like I'm fucking. I'm fucking shitting in my pants here. I'm going out on a limb here. I'm not going in like Superman. I'm going out on some fucking. I got PTSD. I should have did this shit, but I did it. So I grabbed his hands and I opened the door, and they looked at me like I'm talking about. I had the fucking captain out there, the fucking sergeants, fucking the SWAT team, fucking. They had shields, fucking the helmets. They look at me as I'm bringing the guy out. They going, what the fuck is wrong with him? And why is he out of you? It's like, and they like, everybody just, it had to be about 50 cops. They looking at me as I'm walking the guy in the ambulance. Like, what? And it's like, soon I get in, I'm in the elevator and no one's saying anything. And I'm walking the guy through like 50 cops. And everybody's outside. The news is out there. And I'm walking this guy to the ambulance and the fucking people are clapping. And I feel
like fucking clapping right now, man. That is
no, they was clapping.
Awesome.
It was like the projects. I'm in the projects. We were in
Listeners,
Polo
clap that up.
Project.
Clap that shit up
This
for him.
is
That's fucking
this
awesome.
is
Go
this
ahead.
is Polo Project. This is Polo. These are the projects that Cameron came out of. This is ASAP Rocky. This is right across the street from the Ruckus. This is one of the most notorious projects ever built in the United States. This is across the street from the Ruckus. This is where Kobe Bryant, everybody played basketball at. I'm in where the world's where the stadium used to be at. And I'm in here getting claps, and it's like unbelievable. So, and this is not the first time this happened. I've been doing this for like 7 years. I'm coaching kids off the roof. I had a guy sitting on a ledge, dangling his fucking feet on the ledge. So I'm like, I get on the roof. So I'm like, you know what? Take my radio. I don't even want to hear the radio over the loud. I said, take my radio. I'm going to go out and I'm going to sit, not on the ledge, but I'm going to sit down on the side of the shelf where, and I sat down and I talked to him and I told him, I said, do not come up here. Stay out. Do not come up here. Do not open the door. I don't want him to see another cop. Once again, I know this kid because being a project police officer, I will respond to a lot of calls. We have a lot of people don't know that we get a lot of calls of man want to kill himself, suicide. So I was responding to a lot of suicide jobs, mental illness jobs, a guy who just wanted. So I responded to a lot of jobs in the project because we had PTSD. A lot of us had a lot of these illnesses. So I respond and I know the kid. So I call him by his first name. I'm like, yo, Raj, what's going on, man? He says, I'm just going to jump. It's just that I'm just waiting until I get the voice to tell me to jump. So I know the guy suffers from schizophrenia. So, you know, I'm like, okay, they trained us to not deal with people with schizophrenia and not like go into their world. I thought differently. I'm like, no, fuck that. I'm not doing this training. I do what I think is best. So I sat next to him. I says, okay, so yeah, who you waiting for to tell you to jump? He says, I'm waiting for my friend Mackie to tell me to jump. I say, so Mackie. Oh, Mackie, okay, cool. You know what? I know Mackie. Matter of fact, I spoke to Mackie last night in a dream. He says, you know Mackie? He says, yeah, I know Mackie, yeah. He's crazy though, man. Sometimes his mind is go off and on, but he means well. He says, yeah, I know he's troubling. So it's like, yeah, you know, Mackie told me last night that he's dealing with issues himself. And he says, what do you mean? He says, yeah, he's himself wants to commit suicide. He says, but he decided he didn't want to do it. He says, because he found out that if he do it, that they wouldn't have enough money to bury him. And then they would use a lot of resources. And it takes a lot to bury somebody. And no one has money. And you make a lot of people cry. So he says, Mackie told you that? He says, yeah. He says, because that's what I'm waiting. He says, you know what? You know, Mackie wouldn't want you to do this right now. He wouldn't want you to. Now, in training, because I've been trained, so I've been to special training in NYU to deal with emotionally disturbed people and schizophrenia, and they tell us not to do this. This is exactly what they tell us not to do. They tell us not to get into schizophrenia and don't ever go into that. And I didn't do that. I did what I thought was get him off that roof. So I went into his schizophrenia world, and I got into his world, and then I told him, I said, I have a niece that has schizophrenia too, has the same problem that you have. So, and as I'm talking, I'm getting closer and closer to him. I'm inching over, I'm getting closer. So I said, hey, you know what? I said, can you swing your legs around on the other side so I can see you? Because I like that shirt on. What you have on your shirt? What that shirt mean? I see you have like a name on it. What that means? So he turns around, then he shows me his shirt. He says, yeah, this is a shirt that I got when I was in camp. I'm like, word? He says, yeah. It says, you know. I says, but yo, I said, when you kill yourself, we have to come up with a lot of money. And if your mother ain't got no money, what they're going to do is they're going to kick her out the apartment because she's not going to be able to pay her rent. And then your mother ain't going to have no place to stay. And that's why Mackie told me that he didn't want to do it anymore. He says, I didn't know that. He says, yeah. He says, so I tell you what, I says, you know what? I says, if you just come down, sit next to me, and we're going to get something to eat. We're going to go to McDonald's. I'm going to get you something to eat. and then we're gonna go to the hospital, and then me, you, and Mackie, we're gonna all sit down and we're gonna talk about this. Does that sound like a plan? He says, I don't know if Mackie want to do this because I says, you know what? If you don't want to do it, it just be me and you then. And then Mackie, we'll just talk to Mackie after it's all over. So lo and behold, my fucking partner didn't fucking listen. He fucking knocks the door down. I got a bunch of cops on the fucking roof. The kid turns around, gets back on the ledge again. And I told my partner, I said, didn't I tell you to fucking not come on the roof? So now the guy startled again. So I'm like, now I got to start all over again. Now this guy's want to jump. So I get up. I run to the guy and I grab him. I grab him by his shirt and I yank him and get on top of him. And the rest of my partners jump on top of him. We grab him in. And we saved him. Like, but, yo, if I didn't get up and grab him, he was going to jump because the cops startled him.
They spooked him again, yeah.
Yeah, so he turned, and I just get up. But had he didn't turn around and I didn't get close to that, he would have jumped.
Fucking just clap it up and send some hearts for Sketches, man. That's intense, man.
This kid was like 14 years old, man. 14 years old. Kid was 14 years old. So I grabs him and I bring him in, and my partners, they throwing handcuffs on. Like, we're not putting handcuffs on. So I'm actually fighting a fucking another cop. Like, we're not putting handcuffs on my sergeant. They put handcuffs on him. I'm not putting handcuffs on him. So we're actually all fighting. Like, me and the sergeant, like, I'm not putting. So I'm an officer. If you don't put handcuffs on it, I'm not putting handcuffs on him. This is my guy. I grab him. I'm grabbing him. I said, he's with me. So the sergeant's like, no, we got to put it. I'm not doing that. I grabbed him. So I'm walking him to the ambulance. I'm like, I'm not doing it. He says, when we get back, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. You're going to get in trouble. So I'm like, I don't care. So I grab him. I take him to the ambulance. So I was like, damn, I'm going to get fucking suspended. I'm going to get in trouble. I take the guy, I promised him McDonald's. So I'm like, I can't put him. I promised him McDonald's. He says, you're not getting nothing. He's going straight to the jail. So jail for what? You can't put him in jail. So I says, you know what? We going to the hospital. So I says, so there's regulations. There's patrol guide procedures that overrides a supervisor. So I was able to override the supervisor by going with whatever the patrol guide procedure was to take this emotionally disturbed person to the hospital. So on my way to the hospital, being that I know so many people, I tell the ambulance, the ambulance, I'm like, yo, pull over to McDonald's. Go do drive-through. So it's like, what? Go to drive-through. I want to give him some McDonald's. He was like, all right, not a problem. They go through drive. So I asked the guy, I'm like, what do you want? He says, I want a Happy Meal. So I got him a Happy Meal. So we go to drive-through, get him a Happy Meal. He eats his food. And even the fight, like the ambulance is like, yo, I never ever seen this in my life before. Any officer that ever did anything. And he said, the guy said, I've been doing this for so many years. So many years. I've never seen a cop with so much heart. And what you did, I'd never seen that. And I took him to the hospital. I stayed with him. And the sergeant comes to the hospital and says, you need to return back to the precincts and fill out some paperwork. So I'm like, here it is. This is some bullshit. Here it is. I'm about to get suspended. I don't care. Blah, blah, blah. I go back to the precinct and I walk in, and once again, I get the claps, and the captain wanted me in the room, and he wanted to say, yo, you did a great job, and I want to use you for any time we have something like this, and can we use you for, we want to send you to training. We want to send you to a special training so we could have you in our precincts. And they sent me to it was called Crisis Intervention Training. And I went to the special training in NYU. It was an elite training to train me to deal with emotionally disturbed people and a crisis intervention unit. So I get into this training, and like I said, I didn't lock people up. So after I finished training and it was time for me to go into the special unit, that sergeant decided to call people and block me from going to this unit because it said this guy doesn't listen to his superiors. He blatantly don't listen to his superiors and he doesn't follow instructions. And that made me not go to that special unit. So I got blocked and railroaded for going into that unit because of that sergeant called certain people and blocked me from being that special police officer. So once again, I got laid to shit and I got dealt a bad, and so now that put a bad taste in my mouth for NYPD. So I'm like, fuck this. This is some bullshit. This is fucked up. And this happened in 2018. This is some bullshit. This is exactly what the NYPD need. And this fucking cop stopped me from doing that. And after that, I hated the police department. I hated everything about it. And I didn't, and then that's when I knew I had to leave. And I hated it so much that I left early. So I left the police department earlier than I was supposed to. Instead of doing 20 years, I did 17 years. And I left early and retired early. And like I said, that's PDS. I retired 2019.
A couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Man, that's just fucking unreal, touching. It's intense. It's intense to listen to. I'm sure that the listeners are sitting on the edge of their seat right now for sure. Again, just another clapping hearts here for Sketches, man. That's just one life that you saved out of, I'm sure, several lives at the very least, right?
I'm decorated in the NYPD also. I have I walked in one time in an apartment because almost all of my jobs adult me knocking on somebody's door, going into somebody's apartment. Domestic violence, suicide, I'm getting called from people's house. I get a call. My daughter done slit her wrist and she's bleeding out and I can't get inside the room. And
your daughter?
No, that's what she said. Please. She slid her arm. She's bleeding and she's in the room and I can't get in. So I'm like, oh man. So I couldn't get into the room. I'm trying to kick the door down and I'm going on the radio. I need a emergency unit to come over here. I'm trying to get through the door. She slid up her arms and I couldn't get through. So I'm like, you got a hammer? So I'm banging the hammer. I'm banging the hammer. So I'm calling for help. So one of my partners, he's like fucking 6'3", fucking 250 pounds. He's like, yo, just move back, man. I'm just gonna fucking just rush the door. So he goes back, my man Monolith, man. He knocks the fucking door off the hinge. Bruh, we went into the room. It was like helter-skelter in there. It was blood everywhere. Blood, it was so much. She slit both her wrists and it was blood everywhere. I'm like, oh shit. Now, at the time being that I was specially trained, I had a tourniquet. And I'm also trained in the military to wear to dress the tourniquet. So I pull out my tourniquet and I tourniquet both her arms. That's how much blood was shooting out of both her fucking veins. Unbelievable. I had one tourniquet. I put one tourniquet and I grabbed my partner's tourniquet. So I put tourniquets on both her arms to stop the bleeding because it was blood everywhere. It was, and it was clotting. So she must have cut herself properly.
You just accidentally muted yourself there.
Sorry. I got a phone call. She must have been bleeding about 20 to a half an hour. So I tourniqueted both her arms.
And she was still alive.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, she was still alive. And I rushed her to the hospital. And she made it. She was 16 years old. she had got raped by her
Phone call again. You're on mute just in case you can't hear us. Or if you didn't realize you're on mute. I'm going to pop a couple of bubbles just while we wait. There's some old ones here. One by Oscar G.
There's nothing more intimidating than the sound of a 12 gauge being cocked in front of your fucking face, man. Not that has happened to me. I'm just telling a story.
Yeah, absolutely. That's from the new listeners from when he was telling the time that he got shot with a 12 gauge. Joey Butts.
Yeah, but Sketches, if you were any kind of real comedian, when you had that butcher knife in your arm and everybody just stopped and looked at you, you would have said, hey, what do you want? Do you want the flank or you want the fillet? Huh?
These are old. These are like probably at least, an hour, over an hour old. All right, we've got Joey Butts again.
Wow. Dude, the lady that I worked for that owned the last barbershop that I worked at, she ended up passing away from cancer, which sucked, but she was from Bosnia. And that was during the time it was all genocide, right, guys? Like, Sketches, like, I didn't know there was actual boots on the ground and from us, like, from the United States. Like, if you don't mind talking about, like, what kind of action was going on there as far as what you guys were doing. I don't want to say tactics, but like I was just always curious about that because I mean, that was a war that split up a bunch of countries and shit, you know.
Yeah, I'll replay that message to him again, Joey, when he's back. I think he's had to take a call there, but yeah, I do have a friend that was in the war in Bosnia.
I'm back.
And it was,
I'm back.
There was a message before we go back into the woman that survived. I played a couple of messages out that were really quite old, but I'll play the one that Joey Butts just asked. He did ask you a question here, so here we go.
Wow, dude, the lady that I worked for that owned the last barbershop that I worked at, she ended up passing away from cancer, which sucked, but she was from Bosnia. And that was during the time it was all genocide, right, guys? Like,
yeah, genocide.
Sketches, like, I didn't know there was actual boots on the ground and from us, like, from the United States. Like, if you don't mind talking about, like, what kind of action was going on there as far as what you guys were doing. I don't want to say tactics, but like I was just always curious about that because I mean, that was a war that split up a bunch of countries and shit, you know.
Yeah, that was Yugoslavia. We had
Another call. Okay, we have got 2 or 3 more in the bank here. I'll just hit him and revisit him if it's a question for Sketches. But here we go, Joey Butts.
You know, kind of knew this part of the interview was going to come, man, where I was going to... I mean, look, you got a guy that is trying to do, I think, what the people that are supposed to protect and serve the communities, you know, are supposed to do. I mean, and just be a human being, pretty much. I don't know, man. That's when it's an anger inside me that goes, that doesn't want to be. I don't know how to feel, man. You know, I consider Rock's my friend. This is an app. I never thought I'd have friends off of an app like this. Sketches, you're a friend of mine. I look up to you guys no matter what. You know, I look up to you, Sketches. You know, being where you've been and stuff with the hip hop thing, especially. It's like, but it shows what kind of person you are, that you've come this far, that you can still fucking not be mad at the world, man.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, who to say that I wasn't, like, I was there to help start hip hop, and I saw hip hop like right in front of my face, to like go into comedy and be around Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle, Tracy Morgan, one of the top tier comedians in the United States, rap with Jay-Z in the bathroom with Rakim and Big Daddy Kane in Albee Square Mall. To have all that in my life, before I even joined the military. That's crazy. And to save all these lives and to do all of these things and still come out to be a comedian and be successful with PTSD and I still suffer PTSD because I still go to like my psychiatrist in boot camp, in the military. So to go through all of that and a lot of people didn't even know I was a police officer because I didn't have like that cop mentality. I was human. So it was like a lot of people didn't even know. Like a lot of my friends didn't a lot of my associates didn't even know because I was so genuine and so great, and a lot of people didn't even know. And I still was doing comedy, so a lot of people thought that's what I was doing. I was getting my money from comedy because I was still doing stand-up comedy. I was doing shows $200, $300, $400 a week doing shows, constantly. So since I started doing comedy back in '93, I never stopped. I stopped, but I was still I considered I was still doing it. So I guess 2023 will give me, what's that, 30 years? 30 years? 30 years in comedy?
Yeah, from 93. Yeah. Yep. All right. We got 3 bubbles we're gonna pop and go ahead.
Okay.
No, go
Okay,
ahead,
you get the
sorry.
bubbles. You get the bubbles.
I'll just pop these and then we can go back into that a little bit more. So we've got Joey Butts.
Dude, I don't even care. I'm with a guy working right now, and he's like wondering why I'm fucking getting kind of emotional over here. So thanks a lot, Sketches, and jerk. No, but you know what? This is awesome, dude. But why didn't, Mackie didn't want anything from McDonald's, dude? I mean, you could have got him a fucking McDubs. I love you.
Yeah,
right.
It was crazy because I remember when I got that like the paramedic, the female that was in there, she started crying. I'm like, what's she crying for? You all right? She says, I've never seen a cop do this. I'm like, whoa, take it easy.
It's beautiful,
she
man.
says
It's
she was like,
people.
she was like, cause fucking cops are fucking idiots. I'm like, I know they're fucking idiots. Cops are fucking idiots. They're trained to be idiots. And that's what I've been telling people. They're trained. It's not a lot of them think they're trained to be idiots. It's an idiot culture. It's a fucked up idiot culture and idiot training. And then you add a little racist to them. It's like it's the worst. It's the worst. You take a guy who take a guy who takes an hour to an hour and 20 minutes to drive to work. That's not the person that you want to be your police officer. He don't even know you. He's driving an hour away from where you live. How's he going to tell you about your culture? Of course he's going to lock you up because he doesn't understand. So when I'm going through the projects and I'm going through the staircase and I see a bunch of guys rolling dice in the hallway. So I'm like, yo, who got bank? Who got bank? Who got all the money? I'm saying, hey, pick the dice up, man. He says, yo, go in the house, bro. I said, you didn't hear I'm like, yo, you didn't hear my radio? I turned it up loud so you can hear me come down the staircase. I'm like, how smart are you kids are? Like, what's wrong with you kids? He says, if I'm a different cop, you're all getting locked up. I said, I turned my radio up on purpose as I walk down the staircase to give you guys the head up, and I still catch you in the halls. How dumb are you? So I'm actually educating them at the same time. So a lot of the cops would go on the staircase and turn their radios off and tiptoe, trying to catch a kid smoking weed in the hallway. I'm like, fuck you want to? Why would you want to lock up a black kid in the projects for smoking marijuana in the staircase where they live at? Who the fuck are they harming? Where are they supposed to smoke at? In their house? Where do you I used to tell the white cops all the time, you could smoke marijuana in your backyard or in your front of your house. You got a place to go. People in the project don't have no place to go. So when they go outside and do something, a cop is there to fucking lock them up. You don't get this shit? There's no place for somebody to go in a project to have fun or where are they going? They're going through something. They need to smoke a cigarette or some. Where they're going? Leave these fucking people alone. If they ain't out there cutting or killing, leave them alone. So every time I went out, you couldn't harass or do anything to anybody while I was around. So when they saw, oh shit, we can't do nothing because I'm around. So they had to respect people because I was around. They couldn't lie. They couldn't do nothing. And we had a lot of officers from out of the areas was so racist that I was fucking them up in the locker room. That shit you don't even hear about. I'll fuck at least 4 cops up in the locker room. Right in the locker room. Fuck them up. I gave a nod to one of my cops because he thought I wasn't in the locker room. He said he did this racist antic. And I'm like, so what you said? He says, none of your business. I said, you're a cop. You shouldn't be worrying about this shit. And I punched him right in the side of the head. I lost it. So we fight in the fucking locker room and shit. And they break it up. And they was like, I was like, how the fuck he hit me like that, man? He's supposed to be one of us. I was like, who the fuck is one of us? What do you mean by one of us? What do you mean by that shit? So, after they found out that I'm they called me the anti-cop. I was considered the anti-cop in the precinct. Anti-cop. Yeah, he's not for the cops. He's a fucking thug. All he want to do is help the community. All he want to do is he don't want to lock nobody up. So this is the shit that I had to deal with because I was a great cop.
Sounds to me like you're the only real cop. You're the real cop.
That was it.
That were the cops.
Or who about went out with? So my partner was getting a rift too. So they was trying to separate us and they were putting with somebody that was out to go get them. Like, yo, you go out there. If you go there and you do stuff, you on your own. I'm not backing you up. How about that? How about these fucking apples? I said, if you go, you turn your radio off. I'm turning mine up loud and I'm screaming. So I'm like, you're not going to lock somebody up while you with me because I'm not out there. I'm telling you, we had cops that was out there locking people up because they dog was shit. So they would actually wait until they dog shit and then lock them up. I had cops go out.
What the fucking purpose of these people
out with
are,
fucking
man.
dog cages. I had cops go out with fucking dog cages, waiting until some black kid come out to walk their kid to urine, to lock the kid up and take the dog. Because how can you pick up the urine? You can't, right? So they locked the kid up for the dog urinating.
That's insanity.
And put the dog.
Fuck it.
That was racist.
That.
It was racist.
Yeah.
But they couldn't do it around me.
With the most insane reasons. Yeah.
Insane reasons. Standing in the hallway, like 3 cops standing in the hallway, they would write them up for loitering. I'm like, how the fuck you loiter in your own building? You can't loiter in your own building. So I would, like I said, I fought 4 cops in my precinct because of that. And it's you can't talk about it. You can't put it on social media, and that, that made me retire. I wanted to do the whole 20 years, but that made me retire early because I couldn't do it anymore. I was tired of fighting. It was sad that I couldn't help more people, but I helped a lot of people. I helped a lot. Every time I went around somewhere, they loved me, bro. I'm talking about, like, I would sit down and talk to the grandmas. I was playing basketball with the kids. I was organizing the thing called a Cops and Kids. So every year, annually, for the summertime, I would get all the gang members from 2 different projects, and I would come up with a basketball game called Cops and Kids. So I would grab the kids and instead of having them play against each other, I would round them all up and mix them up. So all of the kids would play with, they don't know what project they was from. I would mix them all up. And once again, the cops didn't like this shit. The sergeants were like, why are you fucking doing these things with these thugs? They're going to shoot it up. So I'm like, no, they're not going to shoot it up because I got all my other partners are gonna come, and we're gonna make sure this doesn't happen. So I started doing Cops and Kids. I was using my own money. I was making T-shirts. I was getting the community involved. I was getting sponsorship. I was stopping a lot of gang banging from happening in the projects of Harlem. There was these projects in Harlem that was going at it, killing each other for no reason. I was able to stop that gang violence. And like these are like things that you don't hear about. The projects is the #1 largest living development in the world. So the development that I live in and I protect is the largest in the world. There's no other development that's larger than New York City housing development. We're the largest development in the world.
Man,
and I'm from the largest police department in the world. And I try to do the best that I can do, and they wouldn't allow me. They didn't allow me. And that's why we had Floyd. That is the reason we had Floyd. It's because that's the police department that trained the whole country. That rhetoric that you saw that day is what they trained us. And you had, as an individual police officer, have to turn that switch off and retrain yourself. Because the way the nation trained police officers, they trained us all the same way, to put our knee on his back, all of us. And to hear the rhetoric of the cops that was talking, they thought nothing of it. They didn't think that cop did nothing wrong. To this day, 90% of police officers don't think that he did nothing wrong. To this day.
Man, we could see that from
90%.
Australia, man. We could see that shit on TV, how fucking wrong that was. That's...
No. The cops, the 90% of the cops, they didn't think that was nothing wrong.
I mean, for me, it was blatant murder, man. I mean, you could see when someone's kneeling on someone's fucking neck for I think it was 9 minutes, calling for his mum. I could hear the man gasping for air. That's just fucking torture, man. I mean, and that's a whole other story we can go into, but yeah, it was sickening to see, man. I saw the videos from over here. Of course, I wasn't there live, but what gets me is why the people just didn't rush the cops together. If everyone rushed the cops,
that was the thing. I was that guy. I was that guy that would fucking go and push the cops to the side. I'm like, that's enough. What the fuck y'all doing here? They're not doing it. Yo, back up. And I would grab the guy. I'm like, yo, it's over with, right? And I would grab him and I would take him into the car. We're not macing him. No, you're not. Put your mace away. He's handcuffed. We're not doing nothing. So I was that guy. You couldn't harm anybody around me. And it was up to that other officer to be like, yo, what the fuck you doing? What are you doing? Rookie or not? And it's horrific to this day have cops say that you know, that cop didn't deserve to go to jail like that, and the guy should have just surrendered, and all the rhetoric that you would hear from all these cop posts is because I was still on the Facebook with cops, and after this happened, and I'm cursing cops out all over the nation, bro. I'm going in. I'm crying, bro. Every night I'm crying because I'm crying because.
Well, do you know what your problem is here and what America's problem is? There's not enough people like you serving the country. It's people like you that make that difference. And instead they're recruiting fucking boneheads that are just, I don't know what the agenda is behind it, what the power trip of control bullshit behind it is, but you're the real reason why people need to be cops. You're the real reason. And if there was cops like you, of course you're loved, right? Because why do you think people hate a lot of cops? Not all cops are bad. I'm sure some of them are good people, but there's this mentality in the police in America, particularly, that it's disturbing, man. And here you are doing the right thing. You're changing lives. You're saving lives. They're destroying lives, and that's not how it should be. They're there to protect and serve, which is exactly what you did. And your problem is you had no other people to back you up, just like you were. You were fighting the fight by yourself. and
Yeah, it
and it
was.
feels like
I
a
felt I
useless
was by
fight, right?
myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was to a point where they would put me. They was giving me like foot posts, like in an area. They're making me stand all the time and keeping me out of the community. And they knew I knew this community. They would put me in another community. They would send me out in detail. They would send me out to like Trump. So that was part of it. They would put me on a Trump detail, so I would be away from the project. So I can be away from the project. So they started shipping me out to different places. Here, I want you. We send you over there to Trump. We want you to guard the Trump towers. They would send me over here, send me over there, and making me do things so I wouldn't be uh helping the
Well, this
community.
shows how stupid they are, because it doesn't matter where they put you, because you're always making a difference wherever you go. You're always making it shine. So, yeah, I don't get the mentality of these people. But good, put you wherever, because you're spreading your positive seed everywhere, man. Wherever you're going, you're changing those lives.
And to this day, like I buried my friend yesterday, my best friend. Um, and as I'm in the cemetery, I got there a little early yesterday. I get there a little early, so I didn't want to wait in the cemetery. I waited across the street in an adjoining parking lot. So I'm in there by myself, and I'm just chilling there. And I'm 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 listening, which is weird. I'm listening to the stereo app, um, and lo and behold, a cop comes in and he looks at me, drives by, and he turns his light on, and he comes in the parking lot and he drives behind me. And I'm like, oh, what the fuck? Here it is. So I was like, I'm not even going to do nothing. I'm going to stand here. And he gets out. He goes, how you doing? So I'm like, I'm doing all right. He says, you all right? He says, actually, he said, I got a call of a Nissan, and a guy was fighting and broke a glass. And did you see anything? I'm like, I didn't see anything. He says, yes. He says, so what are you here for? I says, because I'm waiting for the convoy of my friend. He died. They're on their way to the cemetery. I got here early. He goes, how long were you here? I said, I was just here for 15, 20 minutes. He says, you sure there's nobody in this car, nothing. And I'm like, no, I wasn't, that wasn't me. He goes, yeah, because I got a call. So as I'm talking to him, he's like, so I'm like, I broke down, I'm like, you know what, yeah, I'm retired. I'm a retired police officer myself. So once I said that, he kind of like, he dropped his guard. And he didn't have a mask on. So I'm like, I thought you guys got to have masks on. So he fucking talking to my face without a mask. I thought that was strange first. So um, so he drops his guard. Then he says that he also retired. And when the verdict came down, he decided to go back on the force. So I'm like, what? He says, yeah, I felt that that cop got a bad, what you call it. And I decided, once they locked him up, I decided to become a cop again. So I was like, that don't make sense. So then I thought about it. I'm like, I get it. You racist bastard. I get it. So like I said, I tell people, I said, yo, don't give a cop an opportunity to shoot, to kill you, to put you in a bad predicament. All that talking back and I got rights and all of that. Do what these cops tell you to do. When the cops pull you over, pull your windows down, your front, your back windows down, turn your music off, put your hands and do exactly what. There's a lot of cops out there that want to kill you. They want to harm you. They want to do bad things to you. And I know that firsthand. I know that for a fact. So you have rights, but you want to walk away with those rights. You don't want no excuses from them to want to draw their gun and kill you. They're out there. They're out there. I'm telling you, they're out there. You got cops want to go out there and kill you. And that's a sad picture. It's a sad picture, but they out there. So they need to be a procedure on how to get stopped by a police officer. They should actually
absolutely.
add this to school. This should be a course that should be taken in school. How to deal with your local police officer, how to interact with them, should be a class taken in school.
It's sad, but it's sad to say, although it rings truth, right? It's to that point. I mean, we're not like that here. We don't have to worry about police shooting us, man. We just don't. It's that we're never in fear of ever getting pulled over. People mouth off to the police here all the time. My friend, he got into a fight with the police officer. The officer was actually targeting him. He looks like a biker. He's got tattoos all over him, up his neck and everything, and he's got a bit of a bad attitude. No, sorry, he's got a bad attitude, but he actually didn't do anything wrong. But he was profiled by the police. Assumed that he had things in the car, and he didn't. And he was standing by that, and he was mouthing back off to the police, and the policeman actually hit him. So he rushed the cop, and they had a fight, and it's nobody getting shot. I'm sure if you did that over in the United States, they'd shoot you dead, right? If you try to fight a police officer.
Yeah, easy. You're gonna get tased. You're gonna really get hurt. You're gonna really get hurt.
Hmm.
You're gonna really get hurt.
So, yeah. So now that you retired a couple of years ago, what have you been doing in your retirement? What's your sort of plans now that you've retired? Is it to chill out, take it easy? You set yourself up. How are you dealing with your PTSD?
Well, it's so now I'm playing catch up with my daughters. So when I retired, what I decided to do is play catch up with my daughters, being in their lives and explaining to them, and that's the thing that I think my father should have told me. He should explain to me why he did and what he did and what happened or why he did, so a lot of my daughters didn't know that I went through this stuff. They didn't know that I suffered. They didn't know that I was put into all of these. They didn't know that I went to court to battle to get them. They didn't know that I was giving them money. They didn't know that mother was getting child support. They didn't know that I was in their lives. And a lot of my kids didn't know these things. So in these last 2 years, I've been playing catch up, and they didn't realize that that their mothers were terrible, because I had 4 baby mamas.
Mm.
So 3 of them were terrible. And they would tell them that your father is terrible. He's not sending money. He's not supportive. Not knowing that I was giving them. I done spent about, I'm damn near $600,000 in child support. So I done gave $600,000 in child support already. Over $500,000 I spent in child support.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. And I still have another child that I'm paying. I'm probably paying for the next probably 4 more years. So before it's all over, I'll probably be paying about $750,000 in child support.
Wow. So are you doing your comedy anymore now?
Oh yeah. Well, since the pandemic, I've only comedy I've been doing is I did a couple of virtual. I did like 2 virtual shows. I did 1 out. I did 2 outdoor shows. So I did 4 shows in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So that's how bad it was with the pandemic.
Sure.
I've been writing. So I've been writing a movie. And I'm ready right now. I'm doing the finishing touches to a movie that me and Michael Blackson is working on. Michael Blackson is a comedian and from Africa. He's pretty big in the United States. So matter of fact, now that you mentioned it, I'm supposed to be giving him a call because he lives in Delaware. I'm in Delaware now, and I'm supposed to be going to his house to get back on that movie because I think it's going to be a deal breaker. It's a pretty good movie. I've been working on. So I've been working on movies.
Seeing it, man. Yeah. And I'm just thinking, just towards the end of your story before, I'm just thinking, man, you could make a movie about your life. Your life's like, it's inspiring, man. It's inspiring how you've come from such a hard place. You've totally today educated me on the projects, what it's like. I had no idea before, and this is maybe people in America hear it and know, but I have no idea from over here. So I'm well aware now about what that lifestyle's like and what it was like from the 70s to the 80s to the 90s. And I was aware of racism in America is pretty strong. But yeah, man, to hear all this combined put together is just it's mind-boggling, man. It's such a great story. You've lived a full life.
Yeah, and I'm only halfway there. I'm only halfway there.
Absolutely.
I'm only halfway there. So I took my
now you can,
kids to Disney. I took my kids to Disney. What was it? July. So I was able to get all my five kids. Second time ever in life, I was able to get all my kids together. Second time in life, man. I had to be 51 years old to get all my kids together. That was a blessing, man. To be able to afford to take all my five kids to Disneyland and pay for everything and have a good time and for 4 days, for a whole week, and go to all the parks and everything that happened with the $600,000 in child support and everything that happened in my life, to be able to still take them. And we sat down and we talked, and my daughters are they're grown, and to not knowing that, like, I had to actually show my daughter court papers showing her that I went to court to try to get her, and that I was trying to get visitation, and her mother was stopping me, and I was calling a cop. I was a cop calling the cops to get my daughter. So I had to call the cops a couple of times so I can see my daughters. So that's how bad it was. You know how frustrating it is for me to be a police officer, to have to call the cops and for her not to give me my kids, and then I got to go on patrol. So this is things I had to deal with, not being to see my kids and paying all this child support, and then I had no power, and then I had this PTSD, and I couldn't see my kids, and now I'm here serving and protecting my community and helping people and saving lives, and I can't even save my own. And it's rough. So it was rough. And then at the same time, I was in the reserves. And while I was in the reserve, I was losing soldiers over in Iraq. So it's you know, it's crazy. It's you know, you go through a lot, man. You go through a lot. And I went through a lot.
100%. You've been through more than most, I think. Yeah, absolutely. Just to revisit your PTSD, have you ever heard of sort of psilocybin, where you can do microdosing and things like that for helping PTSD before?
Ha ha ha. I'm glad you thought of that. So I microdosed Monday.
Okay. First time.
Because I got a phone call Sunday, said my best friend died. I couldn't do it. I broke down. So I was going to microdose 2 weeks ago, and I didn't do it because my mother was sick and I couldn't do it. So I said, you know what? I couldn't take it no more. So I microdosed, I think it was Sunday. I think it was Sunday. Because I started doing it. Yeah, I had shroom edibles. I started microdosing, and I was taking pieces of it Sunday night. Monday, Tuesday, I microdosed. And I was just in pocket. I was just like, I was writing stuff down. I was jumping and going back and forth in time. I was tripping. It was weird because I wrote in like 7 different composition books. I fucked up like 7 composition books, and I would open up a new one and write. Like, so now when I got these composition books, I don't know what the fuck this shit. I don't know where it came from. Like, what the fuck is this shit? I wrote something down, and I left it on the counter. And my wife come home and she texts me. She said, "What is this shit? Who the fuck you writing to?" So she texts me the because I wrote on like on an envelope, and she texted to me, and I'm like, "What the fuck is this shit?" And I'm gonna read it out because read out the text. It said she showed me a picture of it, and it says, "I love you," and say.
I think we just lost you there for a second.
Oh no, I was reading the text. Did you hear what I said in the text? So I was like, I was like, say, who the fuck was you writing to? What are you doing here? So I'm like, I don't know where. See, I didn't tell my wife I was microdosing. I didn't tell her.
Right.
I didn't tell her. I was home by myself. My kid was away, and I did it. So,
Yeah, I think point two of a gram is what they say, and I think you're supposed to do it every second day and probably leave the weekends out. So maybe 3 days a week, a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then by not taking it over the weekend allows your body to readapt to so the dose affects it again properly on a Monday, and it's supposed to just enhance creativity, take away any like PTSD feelings, depression, anxiety, things like that should kind of melt
it
away.
did.
Yeah.
It
And
did. It
doing
did.
that for long term, apparently there's a lot of guys in Silicon Valley that take microdosing like constantly through the week for their creativity and investing and things like that. So it's becoming a bit more of a proven method, I believe.
Yeah, because I wrote a full rap song. Like I did. You know what's so funny? I did a song about what I just spoke about.
Yeah.
I wrote.
Yeah, like
And here's the thing. I didn't know I wrote it. So I'm in a hospital. So I parked in an area. And when I park in an area and I don't know where I'm parking at, I open my phone, I go on my notes and I type in where I parked at. Sometimes I take pictures, but I started just writing my notes. Oh, I parked in parking lot B. And then I looked at my notes and I'm like, I see rap song. I'm like, what the fuck is this? I open it up. I'm like, what the fuck when the fuck did I write this? And I'm reading it and I'm like, I must have wrote this when I was fucking microdosing. So I was like, I'm reading it. I'm like, this shit is hard, son. So I'm definitely doing that song when I get I get a chance. I'm definitely gonna do that song. It's really good. So everything
Dude,
I
do me
spoke
a
about is
favor
in
and
that song.
send that to me when it's done, and I mean you can almost relate that back to this podcast when you release it to say like, you know, this song is about my life, which you can hear it here. I mean, you go from A to Z, and this is it's been so such a deep podcast. I mean, you've had my full attention the whole time. It's been. I could easily listen to you all day talking about these stories, and I know there's so much more still that we haven't unpacked. But I'd love to do a part 2 with you as well, because I'd like to go into some certain areas that we can delve in and ask a few questions, and I'm sure you've got just bucket loads of more good deep stories. And
And you
saying
know
that,
what's so funny about it all? You know what I did in the military?
what's that?
Military intelligence. I was civil
Right.
affairs, so my job was to be civil, to be a civil. I was a civil affairs specialist dealing with my military intelligence. How groovy is that, man?
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Um, we've got a bunch of bubbles that have been sitting here. I think
Yeah,
we
you can
should
hit
probably
them.
because they probably got some questions for you here. So, here we goes. Span Banderas, how you going, man? Here we goes your question.
I just want to say, like, you know, I think influence in today's society is a very big factor of, like, your power and how much you get to say and stuff. And, you know, I think the police get a very bad rap sometimes just because of how complex things are and stuff. And sometimes there are very bad actors, but I really appreciate your story, man. And it really helps show that there's still good cops out there and that we all need to, like, you know, kind of look at it from that perspective and stop thinking so negatively all the time. So I really, really appreciate that. Thanks, man. Brightened up my day.
Yeah, appreciate it. I think somebody left me a tip, and I heard it, but I didn't know what it was. Whoever that was, I really appreciate it.
It was him. It was actually him. He left you the tip. Span.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah. All right, we've got Joey.
Hey, Rock, can you play the Butcher one that I did again for sketches? I want them to hear that one.
Butcher one. Let me just go back. Played a couple of messages before. Let me just. I think it was this. Oh, damn, I'm not sure. I'm going to play this. I'll play his last couple anyway.
Wow. Like, dude, the lady that I worked for, that owned the barbershop, last barbershop that I worked at, she ended up passing away from cancer, which sucked, but she was from Bosnia. And that was during the time when it was all genocide, right, guys? Like, sketches, like, I didn't know there was actual boots on the ground and from us, like, from the United States. Like, if you don't mind talking about, like, what kind of action was going on there as far as what you guys were doing. I don't want to say tactics, but like I was just always curious about that, because I mean, that was a war that split up a bunch of countries and shit, you know.
That was for you there, Sketches. Okay. He said that wasn't
Did
the
I
message.
I asked a question on that Bosnian, right?
Yeah, I think he just said that wasn't the message, so I'm going to go back to play the butcher one again. He's going to, or unless Joey, you just want to, can you leave the message and I'll play it now again for you? It might be easier, but I'll pop a couple while he's trying to contact me. It might be better he just leaves it again, because I'm not sure between all the messages. But here we go, is Sir Salami.
This is a very interesting conversation you guys are having, and I'm particularly interested about, I guess, your observations of the whole time in New York with September 11. I mean, the last couple of weeks or so, I've been watching, well, I'll probably say the last week or so, I've been watching a lot of the TV shows that come on about September 11. I was probably only 16 or 17 years old when that happened at the time. It was a monumental world event, but it's very interesting hearing perhaps the outlook of that event from actual people from New York, because I could just imagine that thing that happened with the World Trade Center towers, that would have really fucked up the heads of the local people. Like, it was the most insane thing. I'm just curious about that.
That's three Sketches. He might be busy on something right now. I'll keep playing a couple messages in the meantime. These messages are, if you can hear us, do you want me to play some more messages, or?
Yeah, you can play the message. But 9/11 was a thing. It's hard to explain, because just when I thought I saw it all, I didn't see nothing. Because when I started looking at these documentaries, I was like, wow, another angle that I didn't even see. Like, 20 years later, I started seeing more footage, and like, wow, I didn't know that. Wow, I didn't know that. Because, I'm anti-conspiracy theorist. So I'm one of those guys that were like, yo, shut the fuck up. Like, don't, with the conspiracy, like, shut the fuck up. I'm one of those guys, because it really doesn't help. It doesn't help. Like, this conspiracy with this COVID, it doesn't help. Like, shut the fuck up. They're not putting chips in our fucking arms. Shut the fuck up. And if you say that, I'm gonna tell you to shut the fuck up. They're not putting chips in our fucking arms. Because while you saying that, stop somebody from getting the COVID shot, killing people. People are dying. I put my brother in the ground yesterday. And as I get there, there's 7 fresh fucking graves there for people that don't want to get vaccinated, dying. Because people listen to this shit. So if you ain't got something smart to say, if you ain't got a high school, or you ain't got a college degree on biology, shut the fuck up. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, if you don't know anything, like, shut up. Shut up. Don't do anything. You haven't been around the world. I done been to Guatemala. I done been all over the world giving vaccines, rescuing people with vaccines. We get there, death stops. Like, death stops. This ain't the first time the United States had went somewhere and stopped death by giving vaccines. So it's only right for us to do the same thing here. So shut the fuck up. If you ain't part of it or don't know what you're talking about, just shut the fuck up. Don't take the vaccine. Don't do what you got to do. But I'm tired of somebody dying unvaccinated.
Like, shut the fuck up. You know how many people I know die from being vaccinated? None. You know how many people died that I know was unvaccinated? 14. 14. I lost 14 people. Unvaccinated. You know how many I lost vaccinated? None. Just shut the fuck up. But that's just my thing, man. I don't like conspiracies. I can understand, a loose, but the conspiracy, it hurts me. It hurts me. Especially if you ain't got a high school education and now you want to talk about, shut up. Shut up. So from now on, all you people that have conspiracy theories, I want you to post your fucking degree up, or post your awards, or post your receipts of why you think it's a conspiracy. What makes you the conspiracy theorists? So anytime somebody say something, tell somebody to post their highest education. From now on, post your highest education. They putting chips in our arms, post your highest education. And we can match and see if we know what we're talking about. So for now on, anybody in the world that's tell you anything about conspiracy theories, tell them to put up their education up and see if you want to listen to that. But moving right along, man, we get the message.
Conspiracy theorists, you've been fucking warned. That's it, fucking warned. All right, here we got Warren.
Sketches. First of all, bro, I commend you on, man, your service, man, with the military. Your service as well with NYPD, bro. But let me ask you a quick question, man. You started off in '93. I'm just curious, man. My brother, who passed away back in 2000, I say maybe 16 or 15. One of them. He was a well-known comedian as well, and I was just curious. Did you know him? The late great Ricky Harris, who did a lot of things with Def Comedy Jam, and knew all the same people as you did. Like he was around Chris Rock, and I think he knew Dave Chappelle from Def Comedy Jam, and a whole lot of a lot of Def Comedy Jam people from back in the day. I was just curious, did you know him? Because I'm from Long Beach and he from Long Beach, and for a minute I used to.
Ricky Harris, was he? Ricky Harris.
Not sure.
Okay, yes. Yes, I know Ricky Harris. I didn't know. I'm sorry for you. I didn't know he was gone. Wow, I didn't know he was gone. He said 2018, 16?
He said 15 or 16.
Wow,
Yeah.
I didn't know he was gone. Yeah, I was doing comedy with him a long, man. Because I know he used to be, because we in New York City, we have a comedy network. So my comedy network, I network with the certain individuals. So anytime they get us, it's like I get a phone call, bro, what's your price? And I'll go like 50 or 60 or 70 or 80 or 90. So it all depends on how much money that I'm ready to go for. Sometimes I'll be like, yo, I don't care. I do it for free. And then that's when sometimes I do my comedy for free. But I started doing shows with like Tracy Morgan and the rest of those and a bunch of comedians. And he was already like big time for some reason. Like, I don't know, he was writing for somebody, or I think he was doing like Def Jams. And I think he did, what's that other stupid thing with Puff Daddy? And something in the late 90s. But yeah, I know him. Man, a lot of stuff I forgot, man. I forgot I was doing shows, man. I was doing shows with Ashley Larry, man. I forgot. You know Ashley Larry, you ever watch Dave Chappelle show?
Yeah, a long time ago.
You remember Ashley Larry, the guy that was I was doing a show with Ashley Larry. Oh man, I forgot about that.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, moving right along.
So you want to hit the bubbles? I'm sorry, but I didn't know we had that many.
Yeah, no, go ahead. No, go ahead. No, I was going to say that the people in America would know people more than I do. I think sometimes because I don't really watch any TV or anything. So I'm not really up to scratch when it comes to some of the people, but I do know several comedians. But anyway, yeah, I can hit the bubbles.
Yeah, but
Here we go.
Bosnia. If Joey Butts, if I didn't answer your question, 96 was Bosnia. So 96 was Bosnia. That's when we went and they had captured the 3 soldiers. That was in 96. Then they sent me back to Kosovo because they started fighting in Kosovo in 97. And that was they was killing off their own people.
Yeah, I just see the message that Joey was talking about before, and I remember which one he's talking about now. I played it, but then that's when your phone rang, so I can play it now ahead. I was talking about when you got stabbed in the arm with a knife. So here we go.
Oh, yeah.
No, I was saying, I said, hey, Sketches, if you were any kind of real comedian, when that butcher knife was stuck in your arm and everybody stopped and looked at you, you would have said, hey, what do you want, the flank or the fillet?
Joey Butts.
It was kind of funny because when everybody stopped and like, okay, like the 2 girls that was fighting, it was like their hair was like standing on end, and it's like everybody paused and like, okay, he got a knife in his arm, But it was crazy.
For sure, man. I can't remember the last time I had a knife hanging out of my arm. So
it was nicely lodged too, man. It was like nicely lodged. It was, and then and they kept the knife in there. So they kept the knife in there until the ambulance came, and because I was gonna pull it out like that, you see on the movie, turned.
Yeah.
So I just kept it in. Matter of fact, I tried to like pull it out. It was like when I touched it, it was like it wasn't going nowhere. So I just left it.
Fuck.
And the ambulance, I think what happened is a cop. Yeah, it was like the cop was there, like just leave it alone, leave it alone, leave it alone. And he just put like a towel on top of it, and
shit. Damn, man.
And when they pulled it out, they gave me a needle right away, and they put a. That's horrible. As I'm looking at the room right now, it's funny because it closed up, like it don't even look like it had that many stitches, but it was bad.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna go through some of these messages here because I think we've got 9+ there, so we're gonna hit Joshua.
Hey, yo, I'm just coming through to say what's up. Sketches, Rocstedi, what's poppin'? Good morning, good Friday morning, 11:46 a.m. EST in Michigan.
How you doing, brother? Good to hear from you. And we've got Batwoman.
Just Rocstedi, steady rocking all night long. We begin to rock.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. We've got
Appreciate
Joey Butts.
Sketch, have you ever taken hallucinogens before? Like, have you ever tripped, like, taken, I don't know, an amount of mushrooms where you can fucking trip balls off? Or taking LSD or anything like that before you started doing this?
I think I answered that right.
He's wondering because obviously we talked about the microdosing, but have you ever experienced taking shrooms or LSD or psilocybin in any way before you started microdosing?
Oh, that's what I use. I use the shrooms.
Yeah. So have you taken like large amounts? Have you been tripping balls?
Oh no,
before,
just Sunday night, Monday, and Tuesday.
Right, first time you've ever had any sort of hallucinogens before?
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Oh wow, okay, cool. Yeah, man, small microdoses. It's the trick, man. It's the trick. All right, so Joey Butts.
Man, what a fucking show. Bravo, Rock, my boy Rocky. By the way, I didn't realize because I was like trying to tag both of you on Instagram just now, and both of you have the name Rock in your name.
That's right.
Anyway, bravo, fucking awesome. Could have listened to this. I could have kept listening, man. I wish I would have been here still. But Sketches for you. And all my life, I prayed for someone like you. And I thank God that I finally found you.
The guy has a voice of a fucking angel. He does. He's such a talented man, this guy, Joey Butts. Thank you very much. And all the credit's got to go to Sketches, man. That was a fucking great story. Great
I
life.
know. I remember when I was in and I was in the National Guard. I joined the National Guard, and I remember getting there, and everybody's lined up. The whole battalion is out. We were getting a new colonel or something like that. A new colonel comes in, right? So at the time, I'm like the platoon sergeant. So I'm standing in the front. So he looks at me and goes, like he double looks, like, what the fuck? So I'm like, what the hell are they looking at me for? Why are they staring at me? So the colonel's like, you, soldier, come here, report. So I run to the front, and I salute. And he looks down. He's like, well, God fucking damn, bro, where you been? To Vietnam? So I'm like, what are you talking about? He says, you got more awards and more declarations than I do. And I was in the military for 30 years. I'm like, I don't know. He says, God, you like, well, God damn. So I was like, yeah, you know, I've been, you know, actively doing things. So,
man.
So I've been in so many wars, and I had so many awards and
experiences.
I had NATO, I had United Nations, I had Kosovo, I had Bosnia, I had Iraq. I had so many medals. I had more medals on my chest than the colonel had. It was hilarious.
Fuck, that's insane, man. Is there a photo on your Instagram of all your medals, or?
I think it is. I think I normally post it every year. So if you go, my Instagram is open.
Yeah,
you can
I'll
always
take a look, man. Yeah.
I remember I post something. I remember posting something on Instagram and Facebook, and I had my jacket on, and I didn't have the proper shirt underneath it, and I had like my beret on. I just was like, you know, showing people I was in the military, and the people in the military were nuts. They were like, how can you go on and wear that uniform like that and disrespect the unit, disrespect the army? And I'm like, what? Yeah, so I got a lot of hate. Hate. DM me in. Yeah.
How's that in any way disrespectful? I don't get that.
Because I was wearing the uniform wrong. They didn't care about my story. They care about the way I wore the uniform.
Right. Yeah. Don't worry about all these medals from when I risked my life several times and saved others. Worry about how my uniform's not worn.
So the guy was like, he ain't in the military. He must be fake. Nobody had that many awards. Nobody had it. And so I said, you know what? I'm gonna go live. So I went live and I explained every goddamn medal that I got, where I got it from, and I put my forms to show me all the stuff that I did. And after that, I got no more DMs. I got no more comments. People's like, I guess he shut you up. So somebody was like, well, you still can't wear the uniform just because you did all this stuff. So I was like, shut the fuck up. I can wear flip-flops and put the medals on a damn white T-shirt. You better respect me, goddamn shit. Flip-flops and a T-shirt, butt ass naked with all my medals on it. You better still salute.
Kiss my feet. Exactly.
Yeah, kiss my feet.
Yeah, that's right. All right. We've got a few more messages, and then I'm gonna have to wrap it up because it's getting late over here a little bit. And
Yeah. You're right.
No, but it's been a great show, man. This has been probably the best story I've ever heard on stereo. I've got to be absolutely honest. But anyway, let's get through these and we can do our finale at the end. But here we go, MC Funk.
Rock, Sketches. I've been on the edge of my seats this whole time. Yeah, it's like Rock said, you've had my full attention 100% the entire time. I am loving this series in general, Rock, and I gotta say, I think this might be the best one yet. So it's long, yeah, but holy shit, man. Yeah, solid content.
I literally took the words out of your mouth there, didn't I, Chuck? I just said the same thing just before that message, and there's no transcript, by the way. So that's,
you know, I always wanted to do a show with you, man. For some reason, I don't know why I guess because of the time the time
Yeah,
went
so
over
I
there.
mean, I'm gonna be doing more because you beam off so much fucking great energy, man. Like your stories, the way you tell them, you're a great storyteller, and you've captured myself and the audience's every fucking word you said, man. I'm here listening, and just as they said is how I feel. Yeah, like I'm obviously trying to keep it in some sort of a chronological order as we go through with some questions, but man, I'm letting you go for it. I mean, this is full credit to you, man. I think you're you're just one of those people that are different. You know what I mean? You're just different. You're a damn good dude. I've got so much respect for you. I'm so glad we got to sit down and do this. And like I feel so close to you, man, knowing your whole life story. And that's the purpose of this series, is to get to know people. But you know, everyone that's listened to this is going to feel a hell of a lot fucking closer to you right now after this, man. Like, you've just got, I know you got lots of followers anyway, but everyone who's listening just really, really knows your story now, and really know the person who you really are too. You're a good-hearted dude. You know, you're not faking any fucking way. So I really respect that.
Yeah, and I, I deal with health too, so that's another entity that I deal in health. So I'm a metaphysician at the same time, and
Yeah,
I'm
man.
really
I think.
I'm really a
Go ahead.
comedian. So just being straight up, like, it's not normal. I'm normally a comedian, so they're getting the good juices right. They're getting good meat and potatoes right now, because most of the time I do comedy.
Yeah, man. I think it's good to see both sides, right? I like to also jump in and have some banter and have a laugh. I love these serious podcasts too, but I think the point is that there's no fakeness about you whatsoever, and you really do wear your heart on your sleeve, man. And when you say, you know, you're just being you, who else are you going to be? You're absolutely being you, and it's totally believable because it's true. You know, some people you can tell they're a bit fucking cardboard when they get on a podcast, but not you. You're a different guy, man. But
Oh, you know
all
what's
right,
so
let's
funny?
punch.
You know what's so funny?
What's that?
Being that we be in military, let me show you how small the world is. You did a show with Jose the Hype, right?
Yes.
Did he tell you his military story?
He also told me, yeah, and I think he joined at the same age I joined. I think 21 or something like that.
Did he tell you that we both had the same sergeant?
No, he didn't know. He didn't go too much into his military life, but he didn't say that. No, I don't think he knew I was going to be interviewing you. So he did pop in here a little bit before I saw, but I will hit him up again next time we speak.
Yeah, so I had a sergeant in Germany that I kind of like scolded, and you know, we used to go at it, but he listened to me, and come to find out, he wound up being Jose the Hype sergeant, and they treated him like shit and like really tormented him. And
Holy shit!
Jose the Hype blamed me for teaching him the bad way.
How to
So
piss him off.
yeah, how to piss him off.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah, no, I'll hit Jose up about that. Yeah, no, for sure, man. because there's there's also a lot from Jose that we didn't get to unpack. I usually keep these to about an hour and a half, and we've been going for just over 3.5
my
hours
God,
because.
that's right. Yeah, let's hit the messages
No,
and
what I'm saying is that the story is so intense, man. There's no way of stopping this.
I mean, I
Like, you
told
don't
you
want to stop it.
I'm 51 years old, so it's
Bro, like, it's not that. It's that there's still so much more to go, and like this is scratching the surface yet. It's just I ate up every little bit of this, man. It was fantastic. So I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to shorten this podcast. I wanted to go on. But yeah, let's pop these bubbles though. Here we go. We got Joey Butts.
And you know what, man? I did walk around with it. I'm not going to even front, like, with the mentality of, you know, why would a cop want to go to work and want to hurt somebody that day? You know what I mean? But this also opened my eyes to somebody that's actually been a cop. You know, a lot of people like to tell people how to do a job that they've never done, which is fucking. I wouldn't have the audacity. This isn't that wasn't that kind of thing. But now I know. Yeah, there are still coming firsthand now. You know, from Sketches himself, that there are those fucking cops out there. So that also educated me as well. I'm glad to know that because, I mean, listen, you only take my word for it. I don't think I could be the type of person to sit and watch something like what happened to Floyd, you know. disregard all the stuff that I heard. Oh, he was on this, that, and the other. Regardless, I could never sit there and watch something like that.
Yeah, I agree, man. I'd have fucking rushed the cops, but then I don't have that same concept of what cops are like over there. You know, over here, it just wouldn't happen. I know the crowd would rush them, you know, but we've got about 7 left here. Let's go to Joey Butts.
Listen, you know, I'll say it again. People might think I'm anti-vax for this, but I'm saying I don't get it because I thought vaccines were to prevent you from getting the fucking thing. And if it doesn't, I don't get it. I think I had the COVID enough. I was around people after I supposedly had it before it got here that had it. I didn't catch it numerous times after that. And like, I don't know what the point of me getting it is, being a younger person of decent health. You know, I'm not anti. I just don't get why I would get it if it doesn't prevent me from fucking getting it. It doesn't make sense. But I am not out there spreading like rhetoric that just speculation. I have no idea. So I'm in agreement with you, Sketch.
You know, I'm gonna show you what's gonna happen. What's gonna happen is when you get a certain age, when these diseases come back, you're gonna die from it later on. And that's the catch. A lot of people are dying from scabies, which is the chicken pox. Like if you wasn't vaccinated for the chicken pox, become elderly, you get scabies and you die from it.
Oh, you get
vaccinated.
What's it called? It's not scabies. It's
measles, chicken pox.
No, yeah, I know the one. Oh damn, I know what you're talking about too. It's like shingles. That's it.
Yeah, shingles.
Yeah, I haven't had the chicken pox before, and I've never been vaccinated for it because there wasn't one when I was young. But out of 4 siblings, there's me and my sister and 2 brothers. My little brother had it, and the other 3 of us haven't had it before, and we're adults now, and we're just concerned if we do get it some time of our life. But yeah,
well, you know, it's rare. It's only like 100 people die a year in chicken pox in the United States, so it's rare. But
yeah,
just imagine if you do catch it.
Exactly. They say you get pretty sick, apparently. So we've got Titus up next.
My most recent least favorite thing I hear is when someone says, I'm doing the research. What exact research are you doing? Do you have a couple of test tubes and some microscopes, and you're analyzing with droplets the reaction of said antibody buildup within a petri dish? Like what exactly is this research that you're doing? Is it Google? Because okay, that's my most recent pet peeve. But back to the topic at hand. You're clearly holding it down, so we don't need anybody else to hold it down for you.
I believe the research is called Facebook PhD. That's where they're getting their information from.
Yeah, I think I forgot what they call that. The PhD in Google search
and Instagram. All right, we've got
and vaccine. A vaccine is not made for you to not catch it. It's just there for. Just think of it as a nutrition to help you get through it without dying. That's all it is. Something simple. It's a nutrient, that your body don't have, and it's helpful to have it. So when it do comes, you can fight it off and you won't die from it. That's all it is.
Yeah,
that's it.
All right.
You want your dick to get hard? You take the Viagra pill, right? What? I don't get it. It's the same company. You do know that, right?
I didn't know that.
You know the same company that has Viagra.
But my dick doesn't know the difference, so it doesn't matter. So here we go. We've got Joey Butts.
There's certain people that I listen to that have some information that I haven't heard yet about certain issues. There's certain things. Whether you want to call them conspiracy theories or whatever. I know I can pick and choose who who's saying it, like where if I'm taking it any further than just going, okay, well, I'm glad to know that, but yeah, oh, I did the research. I keep hearing that, especially on this app when people start talking about something. I'm like, okay, but the research is only as good as the fucking source it came from, dude. Like, and you really don't know shit. So why are you so like adamant about spreading something that you really don't fucking know, you know?
We'll go on to, we're not turning to a COVID podcast, basically. Here we go, is Joey Butts.
Sketch, another thing, yeah, about the comedy, dude. Like, when Def Comedy Jam was going on, like, around, I mean, that was around the time when you were really getting into it. It was huge, dude. Me and my brother Brian would stay up and fucking watch it, you know? And a lot of the time, I didn't know what people were kind of saying. It was funny, though, to me. But yeah, dude, I mean, like, did you ever hear about that around? Did you ever try to approach that? Like, how, you know, because some of those guys you mentioned were on there. You know, like, what was this thing with you? Did you ever hear? You know, was it ever in your vicinity like that?
Unfortunately, that's when I joined the military.
Right.
Missed that whole gaping, the chance. That's my military.
But you got back into comedy how long ago before you started performing again? You only performed 4 times in the last 2 years, but you were performing before that while you were still a police officer then.
Oh yeah, off and on 2003.
Okay, for many years then.
To off and on now. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Cool. All right, we've got 3 more on the trot here. We've got Joey Butts.
Ashley Larry, Marcy Project, son. Marcy, son, what?
Yep, Ashley Larry.
We've got Mr. Salami.
Sketches, were you a police officer in New York post 2001 9/11? Did you notice, I guess, that generation growing up around that time, post 9/11, was there more sort of like mental health and mental anguish issues on the streets after that event? Or did things become, I don't know, was that generation of kids, did they become quite insular? You know, and also, second to that question, how do you think this generation of young people are going to be after these COVID times have passed?
I did something about that like 5 years ago about the gap between because now mother and father's at work, so now there's no one raising the kids, and that's why we have this problem right now. So it's getting real bad. There's no one raising these kids. These kids are suffering from the pandemic has brung in that day was telling me that the suicide rate has quadrupled. Did you know that?
Damn, really? From COVID, from the lockdowns?
Yeah, the last 2 years it has quadrupled.
I do believe it. I've seen stats on mental health, and it's definitely getting worse.
Because it was declining prior to the pandemic, and then the pandemic just made it even worse.
Man. Yeah, that's terrible. You know, I do know that we're going through some lockdowns in Australia. Not so much where I'm from. I'm pretty lucky. We've had a couple of lockdowns real short. The first one was, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 weeks. Then we've had a couple of like 3 days, 4 days, and 5-day ones. That's it. And we're free to roam and do whatever. There's no COVID in our town. But over in the eastern states where Salami's from, they've had it pretty bad. I think they've had like 6 lockdowns. And it's affecting mental health in people, and people on this app that have become friends of mine and friends of ours with Tony, with Tino, who's friends with Salami. They're suffering with mental health. It's just from being locked up, man. I don't know I don't know what the answers are for some of these things, but something's got to change, you know.
Yeah, it's hard. And we got to remember that there was a crack epidemic that happened in the 80s. I mean, in the mid 80s to early 90s, it was a crack epidemic. So now with the crack epidemic, you're also dealing with now here are the kids. These are the kids.
Yes.
So now
That's
these
right.
kids that was raised without their mother and their father, and they were in the foster system and the shelters, and they were doing the crack era, and their kids, and now they grown up, and here they are, and those are the ones that's committing suicide. People forgot about the crack era. What happened to those kids from the crack era? Did anybody ever did a study on them? Did anybody ever did a study with the kids from the crack era? Crackhead babies. Did anybody do a study on that?
Definitely not that I'm aware of.
Exactly. And then
Yeah.
9/11 happened. So now you got these crack babies, and then 9/11 happens, and it's just so much to deal with, man. And now this pandemic is here. It's just hard, man. It's just hard.
Life's tough, but again, like, in a positive way or a realistic way, what the fuck do? We just got to get the fuck back on our horse and keep moving
Right.
forward. We can't just sit
Right.
there and decline and,
Right.
and let our mental health get the best of us. You got to battle it and fight ways out of it.
Right.
Look at where the fuck Sketch has come from and where he's gone to now. I mean, that's just a totally inspiring story. I really look up to you for going through all that and still coming out so positive on the other
Yeah.
end, man. I just
Chat.
think it's just fantastic. All right, we've got one more bubble in the house, which is it is Joey Butts. So last message from Joey. Here we go.
Hey, Rock. Along with the PTSD, like I said, my buddy Brandon that served for a long time, he was a Marine, said this was a thing that was with him. Like, I mean, he had served in the war, like did several tours. He's like, along with the PTSD, he's like, it's like when you get back here, he's like, it's almost like I had an important role there. You know what I mean? When I got back here, it was hard for me to adjust because I felt like I'm just ordinary now, as opposed to being somebody that, he was talking about how him and his platoon, who are like his brothers, like they rely on each other and there's an importance there. Was that a factor?
For you, Sketches?
I'm trying to
So basically, you've gone over and you've fought in war, and someone that Joey knows, basically they attached their self-worth to the role that they were doing over the overseas while they were serving, and so they felt like they had an important role to saving lives, serving their country, and winning medals. Well, not winning medals is the wrong word, but like receiving medals for doing things, saving lives, things like that, right? Then they come back to their country, and they feel like a bum. Like, what's my worth now? Like, I don't feel important anymore. They haven't got anything to attach their identity to. He's asking if you felt anything like that.
Exactly. That's exactly what I felt. Remember, I told you when I got pulled over and I fought and got all these awards, medals in the military, and then here I am as a sheriff in sheriff uniform, get pulled over by a police officer and get ridiculed as because I'm a black officer in a uniform and he never saw me before. So that was his argument, that he thought that I was impersonating a police officer. That was his story. So that was his excuse why he pulled me over, because he thought I was impersonating a police officer. Ain't that crazy?
And it's a big slap in your face after you've been serving overseas and gone through what you've gone through, right? It's like,
I've been in the war.
I fucking fought for this country, and you're going to treat me like this shit? Yeah.
Right.
No, I hear you, man. I totally hear. Sketches, we're gonna wrap this podcast up. It's been one of probably the longest I've done, and it's been one of the most exciting I've done. I really fucking enjoyed this, man. I can't wait to speak to you again. Like, I would love to have more thorough talks. Yeah, I'd like to do a part 2 and part 3, so we can probably delve into a couple of parts there, a little bit more into when you're overseas serving at war, and another part is some more things that happened while you were a police officer. I'd love to do 2 separate shows on that, and we can really do another couple of hours, 3 hours on each of them, because I'm sure you have loads of stories.
So, can you hear me?
Yeah.
On August 6th, if anybody wants to see the funny side of me, you go to my show. I did a show on August 6th I did a one-man show for an hour and 26 minutes. I did sketches for like an hour and 26 minutes. August 6th. So you can go to my show. You can go to my shows, my past shows on August 6th, and you can hear my comedy on August 6th. You can hear my comedy on August 6th. I did an hour and 26 minute gig.
Hang on. I've got August 5th and August 7th, and I think that's because of the time difference. Which one's it called? Is it Brooklyn Sketch Comedy Live?
The funniest stuff it's happening on August 6th.
I've got no August 6th on my show. I've got no. I think because of the time difference, it's probably it might be. I'm not sure which way it would go, but what's the title? What was the title of it? Oh, Brooklyn Sketch Comedy.
Yes, the funniest stories from the funniest of stereo.
An hour 26 minutes, 107.
Yeah, that's me.
That's the one. Okay. Yeah, I think the time difference with me being in Australia ahead of 12 hours or so, because you're obviously on the East Coast, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm 12 hours ahead, so it would have clocked over to the 7th for me. So okay, that's the one. I'm gonna actually listen to this.
There's no comedians. There's no comedians on this app at all that can match wits with me when it comes to doing sketch comedy. I can go on for 2 hours straight and do comedy for 2 hours straight.
I'm going to listen to when I get off this podcast as I go to bed. And I believe you're right, but as someone who'd be bloody great at it too is Elvis, man. If he was back, that man can roll with some comedy. He's
Elvis,
really great at roasting.
Hilarious.
He's a fucking. He's one of my.
Did you hear when I saw? I did a show on Keith Elvis Band.
Yeah, I heard all about it. No, so I did the marathon with the 27-hour marathon with our friends getting back, and then you did the follow up. Yeah.
I did the band Elvis. It was so hilarious, man. It was so hilarious. Elvis came in and everything. It was so funny, man. Because me, I'm cool with Elvis, so we would go in and like, yo, I'm gonna hype it up. Because the more attention we bring to it, the better. People was going in. They really thought that I was against Elvis. No,
yeah.
It was a joke. It was
believe me, man. Our whole fucking group of friends were like, "What the fuck is this shit?" Like, I'm storming over there, and I'm like, no, this is for Elvis. This is not against him, man. It's like we're about to get our guns out and just roast shit out of who the fuck was doing this show, right? But it was perfect.
So I had to tell Elvis, I'm like, yo, let Elvis know, So Elvis was down with it.
He's the one that stopped us. He says, no, he's my friend. He's doing it to help. I'm like, cool. So
the show was like, it was hilarious. It was like me and y'all. It was both our show, which is we controlled the whole thing, and I was hoping I was able to get him back in.
So man, that still didn't quite happen. So I don't know what's going on there, man. It's disappointing because I love the guy. He brings so much comedy and happiness and things to this platform, but he's someone somewhere's gotten upset for something, I guess. But
I just hope it blows off. We need him back there, man. I like that interview. It's hilarious.
We absolutely do. Sketches, I'm gonna love you and leave you from here, man. So much respect for that story and thank you for sharing your life with us. That's been fantastic. Where can people find you on social media?
Everything is on everything.
All attached to your bio here.
Yeah, everything. Yeah. I'm open book. I have so much stuff on Instagram. Health.
Yeah, beautiful.
Health and wealth. I talk about health and wealth. I talk about so much stuff. I want everybody to live to be 100. That's my goal. Everybody that I know that listen to me, hopefully should be living to be 100 years old, because I give a lot of information out there. I don't hold nothing. From taking vitamin B17 to Iris Moss, and to making sure your gut's all right. Because if your guts ain't right, your mind ain't gonna be right. A lot of mental illnesses and a lot of pills are made to soothe the gut. And a lot of people don't know that. It's not made to shoot the mind. It's made to suit your gut. So there's stuff inside these pills that make your gut calm down. And if your gut calm down, then your brain follows. So it's technically not for your brain, it's for your gut. So if your gut is okay, then you don't have to take these pills for your mind. So it all starts from your gut. Your gut shoots out a poison, a toxin that goes into your brain and have you delusional. That's why a lot of females who have UTI, urinary tract infection, sometimes they get discombobulated because that's your intestines, that's your internal body saying, hey, something's wrong, brother. So like I said, yeah, take care of your intestines, and that is soothes a lot of your mental illnesses.
Interesting that. I'm gonna
It's
I'm gonna talk to
B17
you. I'm gonna look it
vitamin
up.
and Iris moss.
Iris moss. All right, I'm gonna
Iris
definitely
moss,
look into
yes.
that.
Sea moss. I'm sorry, sea moss.
Oh, CMOS. Okay. Cool. All right, my brother. Thank you
It
for
was.
taking the
Thanks for
time with
doing this
us.
for me.
Oh man,
Thank you,
thank
man.
you. All thanks goes to you, my brother. It's wonderful, and I really feel like I made a good friend here, man. Along the way, it's I'm looking forward to talking to you again. I really am. So yeah, when we're free in the next week or two, let's do it. Let's jump on again.
Yeah, because this is the first time I really tapped into my police stuff. I don't really, dive into that. It's just,
It was.
But
It was
I
great to
really
hear.
want to dab into it because I want to dab in it during the Black Lives Matter thing, but I probably will dab into it now.
Mm-hmm. We just let me know, and if you want a host to host it while you go into things, man, I'll more than happily do that with you. Yeah.
We could do a part two. Definitely do a part two.
Yeah, definitely, man. I'm definitely down. Definitely down. This has been great. This has been one of the best podcasts I've been on here, man. It's been so interesting. So, all right, man. You have a great day ahead. I've got
Man, appreciate everybody for
some night ahead.
my
thanks
boring
to
story, and hopefully maybe the next guy to come behind me can suit better. Maybe somebody else got shot in the back of the head and lived. I just got stabbed. Sorry, guys.
You also got shot, but you got
Sorry,
stabbed.
only got 12 stitches from it.
You left the
Still
knife
12
in.
stitches. It was nothing.
Hey, you didn't pull it straight. You left it in. That's like fucking Viking style. So
Yeah.
I respect to that. Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, cool. All right, Sketches, my man. You take care. All the best.
You too, man.
Stay safe. Much love, brother.
You too, man.
All the best.
Appreciate you.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Appreciate you too, man. Bye-bye.